Chapter 978. Looking at Nangong Ningyu, who was kneeling on the ground, Su-yi frowned and asked puzzledly, "What are you doing? Benefactor has saved the lives of 12 of us, so you should accept my bow. However, Nangong Ningyu still wants to ask Benefactor to take us in. Please grant my wish." Nangong Ningyu's head drooped slightly as she spoke word by word. Listening to her words, Su-yi felt a little surprised. Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor, and Little Handsome Su also looked at each other, not understanding what this woman was up to. Leader. The remaining 11 people of the Blue Moon mercenary group immediately stepped forward and wanted to say something, but they were stopped by Nangong Ningyu. They could only remain silent and wait quietly. "You mean you want to follow me?" Su-yi raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes, Nangong Ningyu is willing to follow Benefactor and join the Bawang sect. Nangong Ningyu replied affirmatively without hesitation. Su-yi fell into a short silence and didn't speak for a while. He just looked at Nangong Ningyu quietly. He had already judged that this woman was not a simple person. Being able to organize the Blue Moon mercenary group with a good reputation as a woman, how could she have an undeserved reputation? Moreover, after understanding her during this period of time, Su-yi knew that Nangong Ningyu was a shrewd person. She didn't have any intention to harm others, but her methods were absolutely extraordinary. For such a person, it was absolutely a double-edged sword. If used well, she would be invincible, but she might also suffer a backlash. Su-yi didn't believe that there was any domineering aura in his body. With a shake of his tiger body, he could make countless heroes fall down and work for him. Such a person might exist, but it was definitely not him, Su-yi. Therefore, he was hesitating. "Give me a reason." Su-yi thought for a while and said, "The reason is very simple." Nangong Ningyu deliberated for a moment and then said, "The Blue Moon mercenary group has already perished, and now there are only 12 of us left. There is also the 7-star sword school on the side. If we want to rise again, it will be extremely difficult. In addition, I think Benefactor's Bawang sect should also be in need of manpower at this time. Although the 12 of us aren't skilled, we can still deal with some trivial matters for Benefactor. We could be of some use." Nangong Ningyu said very seriously and reasonably, but Su obviously, he wouldn't buy her words so easily. He said, "Ningyu, you are right, but these are far, far from enough. Or perhaps you only think that my Overlord's sect strength is not bad and can allow you to seek shelter here and avoid being hunted down by the 7-star sword sect?" As he spoke, his eyes became fierce, looking straight at Nangong Ningyu like a knife. Su-yi had to admit that this woman's vision was a bit sinister. Nangong Ningyu didn't go to Merciless West, who had the strongest cultivation on the scene, but came to him instead. Obviously, after a short conversation, the other party already knew his position in the Bawang sect. Moreover, when the Bawang sect was in need of manpower, it was probably Nangong Ningyu who secretly observed. In a sect, there were only a few big cats and small cats. Of course, they were in need of manpower. Another point was that the remaining people of the Blue Moon mercenary group all followed Nangong Ningyu's lead. They didn't seem to have any intention of disobeying her. It could be seen that her prestige was indeed terrifying and could convince the masses. Benefactor, Nangong Ningyu has no such intention. Nangong Ningyu flatly denied. Immediately, a bright light bloomed in her eyes as if a star was shining. She said, "I have my own judgment. This time, I also see the potential of the Bawang sect. As long as Benefactor is here, I believe that the Bawang sect will be able to stand above the world one day, and no one can underestimate it. This is also an opportunity for the 12 of us. I only ask that Benefactor is willing to take us in." Nangong Ningyu made a solemn vow, but everyone present was completely stunned when they heard it. Everyone was a little confused. Where did this woman's confidence come from? She was so optimistic about Su-yi. Even Su-yi himself was confused. This girl's vision is indeed sinister. She is a good talent and can be used. The only thing I don't know is what her temperament is like. All of this needs to be tested by time. Boy, do as you see fit. Whether you want to use her or not, you decide. Just as Su-yi was hesitating, Merciless West's voice suddenly sounded in his ear. This made Sue-yi feel surprised. This Nangong Ning, you could actually make Big Brother Merciless West look at her in a new light. It seemed that she was really not simple. Of course, the final decision was still in Sue-yi's hands. He also knew that Nangong Ning was definitely a talent, but if he wanted to really use her, everything still needed the test of time. The human race was not like the savage beasts. They could inscribe a demon spirit contract to guarantee that they would not have a rebellious heart. Big Brother, do you still have that medicinal pill? Sue-yi thought for a moment. Then he suddenly turned to look at Merciless West and asked, as if he already knew what medicinal pill Sue-yi was asking about. Merciless West said yes. Then he took out a medicine bottle and handed it to Sue. Don't you want to follow me? I'll give you this opportunity. Sue-yi raised the medicine bottle and sent it to Nangong Ningyu, saying, this is a bone-devouring soul pill. If you eat it, I promise to let you stay in the Bawang sect. He stared at Nangong Ningyu with burning eyes, wanting to see what reaction she had. But unexpectedly, as soon as Sue-yi finished speaking, the medicine bottle in his hand was snatched away by Nangong Ningyu. She also took out the bone-devouring soul pill. Without thinking, she directly stuffed it into her mouth and swallowed it. Don't you ask what medicinal pill this is? Sue-yi raised his eyebrows and asked. I've heard of it, Nangong Ningyu said. Bone-devouring soul pill is rumored to be a poisonous pill that can only be refined by Merciless West. Once taken, you had to take the antidote every 2 years. Otherwise, your body will fester, your bones and flesh will be separated, and your soul will be slowly devoured. You will suffer the most terrible pain in the world and die from the deepest torture. During this process, it is difficult to even commit suicide. You have to endure inhuman pain for 49 days. Obviously, in the Chaos Territory, Nangong Ningyu had also heard of Merciless West and the bone-devouring soul pill. As she spoke, she also looked at the old man beside Sue-yi. Presumably, this woman had already guessed the identity of Merciless West. Leader. After hearing Nangong Ningyu's words, the 11 people of the Blue Moon mercenary group became anxious again. They only felt that their leader was too impulsive. Obviously, these people in the Bawang sect still didn't trust them. Chapter 979. Brothers, I know what I'm doing. Nangong Ningyu interrupted everyone's doubts and said. Then, she looked at Sue-yi. All right, since you've already eaten the bone-devouring soul pill, I'll agree to your request. Sue-yi nodded, looked at Nangong Ningyu and said, from now on, you can be considered a member of the Bawang sect. I hope you won't let me down. He was not a person who went back on his word. Moreover, Nangong Ningyu had also eaten the poison pill, so he had no reason to refuse. From another point of view, Sue-yi was indeed optimistic about Nangong Ningyu's wisdom and ability. If he could really make her submit sincerely, she would definitely be of great help to him in the future. Even his big brother, Merciless West, thought so. Thank you, benefactor. Nangong Ningyu finally revealed a happy expression and said happily, in the future, you can call me Sectmaster or Lord. Don't call me benefactor. Sue-yi said, yes, Sectmaster. Nangong Ningyu replied. Immediately after, everyone dispersed from the hall. Sue-yi asked the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor to arrange a place for Nangong Ningyu, Yuan-yi, Yuan-air, Yuan-san, and the other 12 people to stay. When the 12 people of the Azure Moon mercenary group were alone, Yuan-yi finally couldn't hold it in anymore and asked Nangong Ningyu, Leader, why did you? Before he could finish his words, he heard Nangong Ningyu say, Do you believe in my judgment? The 11 of them nodded silently. They had followed Nangong Ningyu for a long time, so they naturally knew the ability of their leader. They were convinced by her and knew her judgment. This young man is not simple. Ever since we were brought to Swordstar City by Ranyan, I had already noticed him. Nangong Ningyu slowly turned around and muttered, He is very unusual. Most El-Nu-Z Asterisk Chapter X section, Upper MLR. Through Nangong Ningyu's narration, Yuan-air, Yuan-san, and the other 11 people finally knew what she was thinking. When he first noticed the young man, It was the heaven-splitting tiger that whizzed past him, and Ran Yin had even insulted him. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already felt afraid. However, Su Yi didn't do that at that time. He just looked calm and didn't put Ran Yin in his eyes at all. In addition, when the 12 members of the Blue Moon mercenary group were hung from the city walls, Nangong Ningyue's clothes were in tatters and half of her body was exposed, attracting far too many filthy gazes. However, Su Yi, who passed by at that time, still had pure eyes and no other thoughts. This made Nangong Ningyu look at him a few more times. Later, when they were rescued, Su Yi took them all the way. When they learned that 2 powerful demon emperors had taken him as their master, they were all shocked beyond words. In addition, they later found out that the son of the 7-star sword school's sect master, Ran Yin, his mount, the heaven-splitting tiger, and Protector Liu had all died at the hands of Su Yi and Little Handsome Su, which was even more shocking. Not to mention, when he returned to this place, another Yama, Merciless West, had appeared. To be able to gather so many experts, how could that young man be an ordinary person? Nangong Ningyu had enough reason to believe that in the future, Su Yi would definitely be able to soar into the sky, soar into the 9 heavens, and look down on the world. The current Bawang sect is not strong yet, so we can be of use if we join. This can indeed be considered a huge gamble. Our lives are all in the hands of the Bawang sect. However, since he has already made his decision, then let's stay here at ease. I believe that he will not disappoint us. Nangong Ningyu's lips and teeth slightly parted as a strange look appeared in her eyes. Not long after, Su Yi, Merciless West, Little Handsome Su, Green Emperor, Yin Yang Underworld Emperor, and others came to the stone cave at the back of the mountain. Su Yi summoned the mysterious space and let the Green Emperor and Yin Yang Underworld Emperor stand guard outside. Then, he took Merciless West and Little Handsome Su into it. Feng Cheer. After entering, a dense spirit chi and a vigorous aura rolled over, wrapping everyone in it. At the same time, they also saw a slender figure sitting cross-legged on the ground. Her body was surging with spirit chi and was shrouded in light. She looked extremely extraordinary. Su Yi, Senior, you are here. Sensing the arrival of everyone, the figure sitting cross-legged opened her eyes and looked at Su Yi and others with joy. Little girl, not bad. Have you finally refined that drop of spirit liquid? Merciless West smiled and walked to Feng Cheer, nodding and saying. In his perception, it was not difficult to find that the fluctuation on Feng Cheer's body was much stronger than before, which made him very pleased. Her cultivation was very weak, so Su Yi did not give her much spirit liquid, so it was relatively easy for her to refine it. Thank you for your kindness, Senior. Feng Cheer's eyes were filled with endless gratitude as she looked at Merciless West and Su Yi. Of course, she knew that the drop of spirit liquid was an absolute treasure, and she was surprised that it was used on her. No need to thank us. When you can truly control the calamity chi and poison soul in your body, then we can talk about other things. Merciless West put away the smile on her face and said, Yes. Feng Cheer was extremely respectful as she bowed to Merciless West. Since this senior said that she had a good chance of being cured, her heart was filled with hope. Although the process would be worse than death, Feng Cheer was not afraid. She just wanted to be like an ordinary person so that she could live for a few more years and repay their kindness. Let's put this aside for now. I'll take you to meet someone later, and we'll talk about other things then. Su Yi stepped forward and looked at Feng Cheer. He thought of a person, and it was Feng Pu who found this place. That guy was also very considerate. He was willing to risk his life for Feng Cheer, which was very impressive. Golden Gang Griffin, Silver Cloud Leopard, Scarlet Wind, Black-Eyed, Demonic Monkey. Then, Su Yi turned to look at the 3 brute beasts in the space. The 3 beasts had received benefits and were now awake, and their auras were much stronger. Thank you for your kindness, Master. The 3 beasts bowed to Su Yi and Merciless West gratefully. The Golden Gang Griffin had become Merciless West's mount, together with the Silver Cloud Leopard and Scarlet Wind Black-Eyed Demonic Monkey. The three beasts did not dare to imagine that they would receive such great benefits. Huang Jian is about to break through to the Origin Emperor realm. Judging from his momentum, he will succeed in 1 or 2 days. Merciless West suddenly said slowly. In the distance, there was an old man who was sitting cross-legged, and he attracted the attention of everyone. The old man's entire body was filled with terrifying energy. Layers upon layers of energy were crazily whistling in the air. If it were not for the space's obstruction, it would have caused a terrifying tremor in the world. Chapter 980. Seeing that Huang Jian was about to make a breakthrough, Su Yi was overjoyed. Soon, the Bawang sect would have its 4th Emperor Realm expert. This was already very powerful. At the very least, the third-rate forces in the Chaos Realm, such as the Gimdeo sect, the 7-Star Sword School, and the Green Sanctuary sect, were not as powerful as Huang Jian. Big brother, take Feng Qi to see that guy. I have something to discuss with the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor, Su Yi said. Then, Merciless West nodded and took Feng Qi, the Golden Gang Griffin, and the others out of the mysterious space. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor, who were guarding outside, were called into the mysterious space. Master, when they saw Su Yi again, they bowed respectfully. They were a little puzzled. They did not know what Su Yi wanted to say to them. Why did he call them into the mysterious space again? I have something to give you, but you must be careful. Don't let anyone else know about it. Otherwise, if the slightest bit of information is leaked, I'm afraid you will all die without a burial place. Su Yi suddenly looked at the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor with a serious face. He spoke with a solemn face, as if he was telling them something very important. His attitude made the 2 Demon Royal Realm experts very nervous. Su Yi gave them so much pressure that they even felt a little short of breath. Yes, Master. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor hurriedly replied. Looking at Su Yi, it was not difficult for them to imagine that what their master was going to give them would be extremely extraordinary. They could not help but feel a little impatient. What kind of treasure could make their master give them such serious instructions? Buzz. Just as they were wondering, a ball of golden light suddenly burst out from Su Yi's chest and covered the entire mysterious space. In the golden light, a terrifying pressure surged out and directly pressed down on the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor. In an instant, the 2 of them almost prostrated themselves on the ground. From his mouth, he let out a series of fearful roars. Invisible dragon roars were faintly discernible, penetrating the beast's souls. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor trembled and turned pale. This is... The lips of the Green Emperor trembled as he sensed the terrifying aura that permeated every inch of his body. The Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor, who was next to him, almost prostrating himself on the ground. If it was not for their Demon Royal Realm cultivation, they would not be able to withstand it. Boss, are you going to give the 2 drops of Golden Dragon Blood Essence to them? Handsome Su yelled from the side. Here are 2 drops of Golden Dragon Blood Essence. If you refine them, they will bring unimaginable benefits to you. Su Yi ignored Su Xiaoshui and spoke softly. Yes, the 2 drops of Golden Dragon Essence blood were floating in front of him. They were given to him by the old Golden Dragon before he left the mysterious space. Su Yi had already refined 9 drops of the Golden Dragon's blood, and his body had already been tempered to the extreme. Refining the remaining 2 drops wouldn't be of much use. Therefore, he decided to give the last 2 drops to the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor. Golden Dragon Essence Blood. Hearing Su Yi's words, the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor opened their eyes wide. It was extremely exaggerated. They had been mentally prepared. However, Su Yi's words shocked them to an unprecedented extent. They could not imagine what the Golden Dragon Essence Blood was. However, they were sure that it was the most terrifying thing, which was beyond their knowledge. Your original forms are the Sounding Snake and the Yin-Yang Ghost Flood Dragon. Both of you are related to the Dragon Tribe and have a thin dragon bloodline. Su Yi looked at them and said calmly. This was also his idea. giving the 2 drops of golden dragon essence blood to the Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Flood Dragon could make the most of their benefits. Since he had taken them in, Su-Yi trusted them enough. He would not keep the benefits to himself. The stronger the strength of the people around him, the greater the benefits for Su-Yi. You can take them separately. Su-Yi waved his hand, and the 2 drops of golden dragon essence blood flew to the Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor respectively. Then he said, "The golden dragon essence blood will bring you great benefits. However, the process of refining it is also extremely dangerous. Therefore, you don't have to rush to refine it. You can make some preparations first." Although the Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor were related to the dragon tribe, they did not have the dragon bloodline. Therefore, refining the golden dragon essence blood would be very risky. Of course, this risk was much smaller than that of other tribes. "Thank you, Master." The Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor immediately knelt down and saluted Su-Yi with great gratitude. Then, under the terrible pressure of the golden dragon essence blood, they released a light of energy, which covered the 2 drops of golden dragon essence blood. Then, the light in the sky disappeared instantly, and the space returned to normal. The Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor pursed their lips at the same time and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. They felt that their mouths and tongues were dry. "Master, the golden dragon essence blood is extraordinary. I plan to start refining it now. With the existence of this space, I am very confident that I can succeed." The Green Emperor looked up at Su-Yi and said. The Yin Ghost Emperor also nodded with a look of eagerness. The golden dragon blood essence was simply too alluring to them, and even though their true forms were the Ming-Shi and the Yin-Yang infernal flood dragon, they were unable to resist it. Okay. Su-Yi nodded to show that he agreed with their idea. He did not plan to go out recently. In addition, his elder brother, Merciless West, had returned, and Huang Jian was about to make a breakthrough. With 2 primitive emperors around, he was not afraid that someone would come to make trouble. The Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor could go into secluded meditation to refine the golden dragon essence blood. Then, the Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor stopped delaying. They calmed down and sat down cross-legged. The 2 drops of golden dragon blood essence floated into the air, and with a faint dragon roar, they were directly swallowed into their stomachs. Whoosh! The Green Emperor and the Yin Ghost Emperor emitted a fierce aura. Golden light covered their heads, and energy surged. This can also be considered their opportunity to obtain such benefits. The blood jasper Ginseng exclaimed as he appeared beside Su-Yi. He had sensed everything that had happened just now, and now he was looking at Su-Yi with a gaze filled with intense shock. Since he had known this young man, the blood jasper Ginseng had seen too many things, which made him feel incredible and unbelievable. Chapter 981. Su-Yi did not stay in the mysterious space for long. After exchanging a few words with the blood jasper spirit Ginseng, he walked out of the cave and returned to the main hall. At this time, Feng Shi met Feng Pu under the lead of Merciless West and the others. After parting last time, the 2 of them thought that they would be separated forever. Who would have thought that they would have the chance to meet again? They could not help but sigh with emotion, especially Feng Pu. When he saw that Feng Shi was still alive and knew that Su-Yi did not lie to him, he was as happy as a child, crying and laughing at the same time. On W chapter equals section square root Y, Su-Yi knew that Feng Pu was very fond of Feng Shi. Otherwise, Su-Yi would not have let him stay here. I have already repaid the kindness of the Feng clan. From now on, I have nothing to do with them. At the same time, I have also promised to serve you all in this life. Feng Pu, you should go back. When Feng Shi said this to Feng Pu, not only did Feng Pu not feel upset, he was very happy for Feng Shi. He was glad that Feng Shi had finally thought it through. Sir, please take me in as well. I have had enough of the Feng clan's ruthlessness. Now that Feng Shi is not in the clan, I have no more feelings for it. Suddenly, Feng Pu ran to Su-Yi and said to him, "The Bawang sect does not keep idle people. Sui curled his lips and said lightly. Feng Pu had deep feelings for Feng Qi, but this had nothing to do with Sui. There was no reason for him to take him in. Feng Pu suddenly laughed and winked at Sui, saying, Sir, why don't you take me in as your disciple? Feng Pu could endure any kind of hardship and could do any kind of work. As long as you accept me as your disciple, I'll definitely cultivate diligently. I won't stay in the Bawang sect and do nothing. During the days when Sui was not around, Feng Pu had already asked some of the weaker demon beasts under the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. He knew that Sui was the sect master of the Bawang sect, and that he had even tamed the Yin-Yang Hell Jiao. Most importantly, his cultivation base was also very strong. Feng Pu couldn't help but be tempted. The Feng clan was heartless and wanted Feng Qi to die. Feng Pu's heart was already cold, and he didn't want to go back. He only knew one thing, and that was wherever Feng Qi went, Feng Pu, would follow. And what Sui valued was precisely this point about Feng Pu. After all, this brat even dared to trespass into the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon's territory. However, it was clear that he was not prepared to accept Feng Pu as his disciple. He had not even taken care of himself yet, and his cultivation was not enough. How could he have the time to take care of this brat? Forget about accepting you as my disciple. I don't have time to teach you anything. Sui rolled his eyes and said directly, You can stay with Nangong, Ningyue, and Yuani. When the time comes, I will arrange something for you to do. So, you agree to let me stay here? As soon as Sui said this, Feng Pu was overjoyed. He automatically ignored those unpleasant words. Instead, he grasped the main point of Sui's words. He agreed to let him stay and become a member of the Bawang sect. This kind of result made him extremely happy. As long as he could stay in the Bawang sect, he was willing to do anything with Feng Qi. Sui rolled his eyes again. This Feng Pu's cleverness was really good. In addition, don't pester Feng Qi, for the time being. The calamity Qi poison soul in her body needs to be controlled sooner or later. If you don't want her to die, you better behave yourself, understand? Merciless West seemed to not be used to Feng Pu's smug look. She immediately glared at him and poured a bucket of cold water on him. Got it. Feng Pu shrunk his neck in fear. He was really a little afraid of Merciless West. Of course, Feng Pu also knew the severity of the matter. Feng Qi had already told him that Merciless West had a way to cure her illness, and this made Feng Pu extremely happy. How could it be a bad thing? Let's wait for Huang Jian to come out of seclusion first. Sui said softly. Everyone dispersed from the hall. Sui told Merciless West about the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor refining the Golden Dragon's blood essence without hiding anything. In addition, when he killed the Ayuka Heaven-Splitting Tiger, he obtained a spirit demon core and gave it to Merciless West. Recently, his big brother was preparing to refine the Royal Spirit Pill. Other than the Nebula Ganoderma, he didn't help much. It was useless for him to keep the Ayuka Heaven-Splitting Tiger's spirit demon core. If he gave it to his big brother, he might be able to refine a few good pellets. After that, Sui went to the back of the mountain alone and began to cultivate the 13 Gale Swords. On the path of cultivation, one had to be diligent and lazy. Sui understood this principle and never dared to relax himself. The broken sword in Sui's hands had reached a weight of 10,000 jin. Following the changes in the sword art, different sword moves were also changed. The cultivation method of the 13 Gale Swords was very abnormal. First, one needed to refine their body with a 10,000 jin heavy sword, and their soul force had to surpass those of the same level in order to be able to unleash the power of the 13 Gale Swords. Sui could be considered to be able to meet these conditions, so he began to show some results. On the side, the profound Sun Golden Demon Falcon, Cloud-Stepping Silver Leopard, and Scarlet Wind Black-Eyed Demon Monkey were all guarding him. As Sui cultivated, the eyes of all the beasts were filled with shock. I wonder what kind of grand occasion the Alliance Conference will be. I should go and experience it. While cultivating, Sui was also thinking about some matters regarding the Alliance Conference. He didn't know much about the situation right now. He only knew that this was a grand occasion in the Chaos realm, and many powerful forces would participate. As for the specific rules, he didn't know. Even Merciless West, a rogue cultivator, only paid attention to the general situation and didn't know the specific situation. I can ask Nangong Ningyu later. She should have some understanding of this. Su-yi thought of Nangong Ningyu. Perhaps it would be more reliable to ask her about the matters in the Chaos realm. Or perhaps Su-yi felt that he could go out again and ask other forces, such as the Profound Sword Sect. After cultivating the 13 Gale swords, Su-yi once again began to cultivate the art of driving the heavens. In addition, he didn't neglect the Origin Supreme technique and the Heavenly Fey ancient scripture. Now, Su-yi was already an Origin Void Realm powerhouse. The Origin Supreme technique's Origin Void Demon Body had already cultivated to the 4th level, the Great Void Divine Sea. After 9 rounds of tempering, he finally stepped into the 5th level. The 5th level, Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone. From the Origin Supreme technique, Su-yi learned that the 5th level of the Origin Void Demon Body was called the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone. After carefully understanding the freakish aspects of the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, Su-yi's mind only had one word: freakish. Chapter 982. Bones were the pillars of a living being's body. Only with them could they be molded into various shapes. Otherwise, they would be like a pile of mud. To a normal cultivator, the bones of their entire body were like the flesh. They would be constantly tempered during the process of cultivation, forged by all sorts of energy, and become stronger and stronger. As one's cultivation continued to increase, the bones of a cultivator would also become stronger and stronger. According to the introduction of the Primordial Supreme technique, the 5th level of the Hunyuan Demon Body, the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, was much more terrifying than normal cultivation. Once one successfully cultivated this Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, the power that their bones could withstand was at least 100 times greater than that of a cultivator of the same cultivation level. And this was also the reason why Su-yi exclaimed abnormal. But this cultivation method, when he found out about the specific cultivation method of the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, Su-yi couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Even though he had suffered so much in his cultivation journey, he still couldn't help but feel a little horrified by this. Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, Primordial Yang, True Yang, absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, ignite the raging flames of the True Yang, melt the bones of the body, and form the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone. Su-yi muttered to himself, his entire body still in a state of shock. It wasn't difficult for him to understand that the so-called Primordial Yang was the commonly known True Yang. If one wanted to cultivate the Primordial Yang True Bone, they would have to guide the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into their body and undergo countless tempering in the Great Void Divine Sea to obtain the purest energy. Then, they would enter the heart of the Heavenly Sun and form the True Yang Fire, which would burn all the bones in their body. At that time, all the bones would be almost melted under the True Yang Fire and would be tempered like steel. Only then would all the impurities be removed, and the skeleton would be forged into the toughest object, allowing it to reach an absolute level of strength. Such a terrifying cultivation method is even more frightening than the diamond body from before. Su-yi couldn't help but smack his lips as he spoke. When he was cultivating the diamond body, he had searched everywhere for volcanic flames to burn his body. However, he had to ensure that he wouldn't be burned to death. But this time it was different. If he wanted to cultivate the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, the more intense the True Yang Fire was, the better the effect would be. As a result, the pain he had to endure would be even greater. One could only imagine what kind of pain a person's entire skeleton would experience under the burning of the True Yang Fire, reaching the point where it was about to melt. This True Yang Fire is not easy to condense. It will take some time. Su-yi sighed with emotion. In the process of cultivating the Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, condensing the True Yang Fire was not a small project. It needed to be done persistently. It seemed that this was going to be a long-term job. Let's give it a try. Sui sat cross-legged and slowly closed his eyes. As the energy in his body circulated, the surrounding heaven and earth energy began to surge and converge toward him. Waves of heaven and earth spiritual energy were absorbed into his body. After passing through his 8 extraordinary meridians, they finally flowed towards the vast and boundless great void divine sea. When the entire great void spirit sea was filled to the brim, Sui controlled the energy within and channeled it into the heart of heavenly sun. The scorching heat was emitted, and when it came into contact with the majestic energy, it immediately erupted into blazing flames. It was as if Sui's origin chi had been ignited and was burning fiercely. However, Sui did not make too much of a movement because this kind of flame could not hurt him at all. In other words, the flames produced at this time were still far from the true yang fire. However, Sui did not stop. He continued to control the flow of origin chi and continuously surged towards the heart of heavenly Sunday. The entire great void spirit sea was like a stormy sea. The wind howled, and the origin chi surged and churned violently. When the origin chi entered the heart of heavenly sun, it was all ignited and turned into a terrifying flame. Compress. Under Sui's control, waves of flames were compressed by him, and the temperature of the heart of heavenly sun continued to rise. Until the end, Sui's chest was scarlet red like a piece of hot metal, releasing a scorching light. The clothes on his body had already been burned and turned into ashes. Waves of mist rose from his body. This was the vaporized sweat that directly turned into water vapor. Dong, dong, dong. The heart of heavenly sun beat and beat on Sui's chest, letting out a muffled drum sound. Endless origin chi was being burned and then compressed again and again, the temperature rising again and again. On Sui's face, a look of immense pain finally appeared. He felt that his heart of heavenly sun was about to melt, and the immense pain caused his soul to palpitate. Fortunately, he had cultivated the heavenly Yuan demon soul, and the terrifying temperature was condensed by the heart of heavenly Sunday. Although it was painful, he could still endure it. Go! Sui let out a light shout. All the origin chi in his great void spirit sea had been ignited by the heart of heavenly sun and turned into flames. In the end, it was compressed into a seemingly weak flame. Under Sui's control, this flame swept out of the heart of heavenly sun, passed through layers of flesh, and landed on a rib. Chila! In an instant, the rib turned scarlet red, like a blood jade crystal. Ah! Sui let out a miserable cry. It pierced through gold and cracked stone. The flesh near the rib also sizzled and emitted some green smoke, as if it was about to be cooked. What's wrong with Master? In the distance, the mystic sun golden demon falcon, cloud-stepping silver leopard, scarlet wind black-eyed demon monkey, and the other barbarian beasts were shocked when they saw this and rushed to Sui's side. However, with a burst of scorching hot air, all the beasts were pushed back. Sui's surroundings were filled with dense energy, making it difficult for them to get close to him. Don't worry, Master seems to be cultivating some kind of cultivation technique. Let's keep an eye on him and not disturb him for the time being. If something goes wrong, we'll inform Master Merciless West immediately. The mystic sun golden demon falcon calmed down and said to the other beasts with a look of shock in its eyes. They were a little worried about the situation that Sui had caused. If something went wrong, they could only look for the most powerful person in the Bawang sect, Merciless West. Master should be fine. He's too different from the rest. The cloud-stepping silver leopard said. Then, the other bees stopped talking and just stared at Sui without moving. They could see that his face was filled with great pain, and there was a rib on his chest that was emitting a scarlet light and a scorching heat. Soon, everything calmed down. The light on Sui's body gradually faded, and his aura finally returned to normal. Phew! Sui slowly exhaled and opened his eyes. Chapter 983. It hasn't been tempered successfully yet. As the true yang fire receded, Su Yi's pain also disappeared. However, to his disappointment, the rib bone that had just been tempered by the true yang fire did not show any signs of melting during the process. Moreover, the degree of toughness that it had reached was still far from the yuan yang real bone that Su Yi knew. This could only mean one thing. His first attempt to cultivate the yuan yang real bone had ended in failure. Such an abnormal cultivation method. According to this situation, how much time would it take to cultivate all the bones in the body into yuan yang real bone? How many times would it take? Sui could not help but sigh in his heart. This process was very dangerous. If it were not for the protection of the diamond body, he was afraid that a small wisp of true yang fire would be enough to burn him to ashes. In addition, after some effort, he found that the effect was not good. Su-yi felt that the rib bone in his chest would need to be tempered at least once more to meet the requirements. According to this situation, there were hundreds of bones in his body, big and small, but overall, he would need to be tempered at least a few hundred times. Even if he did it once a day, it would take at least 1 or 2 years to complete this vast project. The most important thing was that every time he tempered it, it would exhaust all the strength in his body. If there was something to do, Su-yi would not dare to do it. If he encountered an enemy, wouldn't that be the same as courting death? Cultivate as soon as you have the chance. There will be a day when you will succeed. Don't be impatient. In the end, Su-yi could only think like this. Haste makes waste. He did not have any good ideas at the moment. It seemed that this yuan yang real bone could only be cultivated step by step. The most important thing was that the process of refining the true yang fire was more troublesome. It required him to compress it again and again, and in the end, he could only refine a wisp of it with little effect. Sir, are you all right? While Su-yi was thinking, the Xianyang golden demon falcon, cloud-stepping silver leopard, red-wind black-eyed demon monkey, and other beasts came forward and looked at Su-yi with lingering fear. Su-yi's situation just now had frightened them, but at this time, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Don't worry, I'm fine. Su-yi smiled slightly and found that his robe had been burned to ashes. He could not help but take out a new set of clothes from the space bag and put it on. Then, Su-yi calculated the time he had spent cultivating, including the time he had spent practicing swordsmanship, cultivation methods, and the yuan yang heavenly bone. Huang Jian should be about to succeed in his breakthrough. Also, maybe it's time for me to go out for a walk. Su-yi mumbled. Then, he found a secluded place and entered the mysterious space. Greetings, Sect Master. Huang Jian thanks Sect Master for your generous gift. I have nothing to repay you with. In this life, I will obey Sect Master's orders and will not disobey. As soon as Su-yi entered, he saw the old man in the yellow robe, who was sitting cross-legged, rise to the sky and knelt down in front of him. His voice was sonorous and powerful. Congratulations to Guardian Huang for successfully breaking through to the Origin Emperor realm. This is really worthy of celebration. No need to be so courteous. Get up quickly. Su-yi smiled happily and said to Huang Jian as he pulled him up. This time, the Overlord sect had one more Origin Emperor expert. Their strength had increased tremendously, and it was indeed a joyous matter. If it wasn't for Sect Master, I don't know when I would be able to break through. This is all thanks to Sect Master's kindness. Huang Jian said again. Guardian Huang was about to break through to the Origin Emperor realm. I only provided some small benefits. Everything is up to you. Su-yi smiled. He didn't feel smug because of Huang Jian's gratitude. He only said seriously, in the future, Guardian Huang will work hard with me to make the Bawang sect stronger. As long as I, Su-yi, have it, Guardian Huang will naturally have it too. Su-yi had always been like this. As long as it was someone on his side, he would be willing to give any treasure. He only had one goal, and that was to make the Bawang sect truly strong and powerful. In the end, they would be able to challenge the Sacred Mountain and take revenge for the past bullying. This old man is willing to do anything for Sect Master. I will not hesitate to go through fire and water. Huang Jian said without any superfluous words. He could see the character of his young Sect Master. He was definitely worthy of his full loyalty. Moreover, he would definitely not be ordered around like a dog. This was much better than Yang Baikuan of the Gimdeo sect. When he first joined the Gimdeo sect, it was because the other party promised him that he would definitely step into the Origin Emperor realm. Now, he had easily achieved all of this. Moreover, Huang Jian saw a brighter future. At this moment, his goal was no longer as simple as the Origin Emperor realm. Alright, there are some things that I don't need to say. Sui smiled and immediately changed the topic. He said to Huang Jian, Guardian Huang, if there's nothing else, I have some things to ask you. Sect Master, if you have any questions, Huang Jian will tell you everything. Huang Jian bowed and said, let's talk later. Sui didn't waste any more words and walked out of the mysterious space with Huang Jian. Not long after, several figures gathered in the main hall again. Sui, Merciless West, Huang Jian, Nangong Mingyue, Feng Qi and the others were all seated. However, Yuan Air, and the others weren't here. Some of them were still injured and had yet to recover. After a simple introduction, Huang Jian and Nangong Mingyue finally knew the other party's identity. Huang Jian wasn't surprised by this, but Nangong Mingyue couldn't help but be shocked. Only today did she know that the Bawang sect actually had an Origin Emperor realm expert. This was too surprising. How much do you know about the Alliance Conference in the Chaos region? Sui asked as his gaze stopped on Huang Jian and Nangong Mingyue. These two people had lived in the Chaos region for a long time and should have some understanding of the situation. They might know more than their big brother, Merciless West. Sect Master is going to participate in the Alliance Conference. Huang Jian and Nangong Mingyue looked at each other, slightly surprised. That's right. Sui nodded and said, what do you know? Tell me everything. I know a little about this matter. Huang Jian looked at Sui and said, before I met Sect Master, I brought Yang Chuan out to gain experience in order to prepare for the Alliance Conference. Sui nodded. He also knew about this matter. Chapter 984. The Alliance Conference involves the entire Chaos region. It is a grand occasion that only happens once every 50 years. Glancing at Sui, Huang Jian slowly opened his mouth and said to the crowd, this grand event is hosted by the 10 most powerful forces in the Chaos territory. These 10 forces are 3 first-rate forces and 7 second-rate forces. Following his explanation, Sui and the others had a direct understanding of the Chaos region. There were 3 powerful first-rate forces in the Chaos region. They were called the Blue Cloud Palace, the 9-Star Valley, and the Blood Sun Sect. It was said that these 3 first-rate forces had a deep foundation and were not to be underestimated. Perhaps these 3 forces were not as powerful as the 10 overlords in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea. However, if the 3 forces were combined, they would be close to the overall strength of the Holy Mountain. It was obvious that the Blue Cloud Palace, the 9-Star Valley, and the Blood Sun Sect were absolutely terrifying. They were definitely much more powerful than the 5 sects and 3 factions in the Central Plains. Besides these 3 first-rate forces, there were 7 second-rate forces. They also had a high status in the Chaos region. Every one of them was awe-inspiring and difficult to shake. Besides these 3 first-rate forces and 7 second-rate forces, who can directly participate in the Alliance Conference, the rest of the sects in the Chaos region have to compete for the right to participate. Not everyone has a chance. Huang Jian said, I see. After Huang Jian's explanation, Sui realized that it was not easy for third-rate forces and below to participate in the Alliance Conference. Before that, they had to go through a series of battles. Only the winner would be qualified. However, this competition was made up of dozens of third-rate forces and countless small forces. Moreover, there are also many rogue cultivators. Among these forces and rogue cultivators, there was no lack of extraordinary powerhouses. Perhaps there were hidden dragons and crouching tigers. It could be said that before the Alliance Conference began, there would be a fierce competition. There are a total of 20 places for the Alliance Conference. Besides the top 10 forces, Each of the other forces can send a maximum of 20 people to participate. The 3 first-rate forces each have a quota of 80 people. The 7 second-rate forces each have a quota of 50 people. Huang Jian added. Su Yi naturally understood when he heard this. The competition in the Chaos region was much more intense than in the outside world. The stronger one was, the more authority they had. Therefore, a first-rate force could have 80 people, a second-rate force could have 50, and the winners of the other competitions could only have 20 people participate in the final competition. Based on this calculation, there were at most 200 people in total, which was less than the number of the 3 first-rate forces. However, this was the rule where the strong were respected. All the rules were set by the 10 great forces. With Huang Jian's explanation, Su Yi finally understood some of the specific rules and matters of the Alliance Conference. As for the more detailed information, he would know when he signed up. Anyway, there were still about 2 months, so Su Yi was not in a hurry to deal with these things. So after everyone chatted in the hall for a while, they were dismissed by him. I'm going to start concocting pills. Recently, the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor are also in closed-door cultivation. Be careful, Merciless West said to Su Yi as they walked together. Big brother, are you going to start concocting pills? Su Yi was already mentally prepared, so he wasn't surprised. Instead, he smiled and said, Don't worry, big brother. I'll be more well-behaved and won't run out to cause trouble. Moreover, Protector Huang has also broken through to the Origin Emperor realm. With him here, this place should be very safe. You brat. Merciless West rolled his eyes and said to Su Yi. Merciless West didn't delay for too long and immediately left with Feng Qi to the original location of the Feng family village. At the same time, under Su Yi's request, Nangong Ningyue, Yuan Yi, Yuan Air, Wu San, Feng Pu, and the others also followed. Since he had already taken in Nangong Ningyue and the others, Su Yi felt that he couldn't let them do nothing. He simply sent them to the Feng family village to tidy up. Su Yi wanted to transform it into the Bawang sex base. After Merciless West left, Su Yi returned to the back mountain and began to cultivate on his own. Su Yi was bored and flew off somewhere to play. However, Su Yi repeatedly warned him not to go too far and to keep a low profile. The 13 Swords of Gale was now becoming more and more proficient in Su Yi's hands. This sword technique was quite extraordinary and could only be cultivated now. As the cultivation was about to succeed, Su Yi finally discovered its special valiance. The 13 Swords of Gale can slash out 13 sword rays in an instant and attack from all directions, catching the opponent off guard. Su Yi was somewhat amazed. The person who created the 13 Swords of Gale was very powerful. Such a move was somewhat similar to 13 people attacking at the same time and slashing from different directions. One could imagine how terrifying it was. No wonder it requires a 10,000 gene heavy sword to refine the body and an extraordinary soul power to successfully cultivate it. Su Yi finally understood why the 13 Swords of Gale was so frightening. Using a 10,000 gene heavy sword to refine the body was so that the body could be trained to the extreme and slash out 13 sword rays at the same time at an extremely fast speed. Then, under the control of the powerful soul power, the 13 sword rays would attack the opponent from all kinds of tricky angles and would not fly around like headless flies. After Su Yi started cultivating, the energy in his great void spirit sea was restored and became abundant and vast. The sky was already dark, and the curtain of night covered the earth. Su Yi wanted to continue cultivating the primordial Yang heavenly bone. Although it would take a lot of time and was accompanied by great pain, he could not afford to give up. The night passed slowly. When the sun rose, Su Yi opened his eyes. 2 rays of light shot out from his pupils as if they were solid. After a night of cultivation, he had finally finished refining the rib bone and turned it into a real primordial Yang heavenly bone. During the process, Su Yi also tasted great pain, but he still managed to withstand it. After successfully cultivating it, Su Yi could feel that his rib bone would not be affected much even if it was hit by a primordial emperor expert. This level of strength was simply too abnormal. Thinking about it this way, if all the bones in his body were to be transformed into primordial, young, heavenly bone, how terrifying would it be? I must become stronger as soon as possible. Su Yi secretly encouraged himself and said in a deep voice. Chapter 985. In the next few days, Su Yi cultivated hard. Just as he had said to Merciless West, he did not go out to cause trouble. After Su Yi's repeated exhortations, Su Xiaoshui was more obedient. He only wandered around nearby and did not go too far. On the fourth day, Su Yi entered the mysterious space to check on the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. The process of refining the Golden Dragon's blood was faster than Su Yi had expected. It seemed to be quite smooth. This surprised Su Yi, but at the same time he could understand. After all, the original bodies of the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor were somewhat related to the Dragon Clan. Therefore, it was normal for them to refine the Golden Dragon's blood faster than ordinary people. They should be able to break out of seclusion in 1 or 2 days. At that time, their cultivation will be greatly improved. Su Yi said softly. He was very happy. After refining the Golden Dragon's blood, he broke through several levels of the Yuan Jin stage and finally stepped into the first level of the Yuan Void stage. It was obvious what kind of benefits he had obtained. However, he had obtained 9 drops of the Golden Dragon's blood and 3 wisps of the Golden Dragon's soul. Relatively speaking, what the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had obtained was much less. However, there was no doubt that their cultivation would be greatly improved after this. Moreover, after refining the Golden Dragon's blood, they would obtain other benefits in the end. This was what he looked forward to the most. Su Yi did not disturb them and quietly left. Not long after he walked out of the mysterious space, a loud shout suddenly rang out in the sky and spread throughout the area. Yin-Yang Hell Dragon, come out and fight with me. This voice was very sharp and ear-piercing, making people feel indescribably uncomfortable. Moreover, it carried a huge pressure that filled the void and made people's souls tremble for no reason. When such a voice reached Su Yi's ears, he was shocked. Spirit-devouring Emperor. Su Yi recognized the voice, and he was extremely familiar with it. It was none other than the Spirit-devouring Emperor, whose true form was an ice essence spirit-devouring insect. He had given the golden scale, blazing sky bow to the Spirit-devouring Emperor to let him and handsome Su go. He had never thought that the Spirit-devouring Emperor would go back on his word and kill him. What is the devouring spirit sovereign doing here? And why is he looking for the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor? Huang Jian asked in confusion. He knew the name of the Spirit-devouring Emperor and knew that it was a powerful demonic beast. Moreover, he had heard from Su Yi about the enmity between him and the Spirit-devouring Emperor, so he could not help but worry. Su Yi was also puzzled, and his face had already darkened. Judging from Emperor-devouring Spirit's tone, it seemed that Emperor-devouring Spirit did not come with good intentions. He wanted to fight Emperor Yin-Yang. However, the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor was currently in seclusion. How could he come out to meet the Spirit-devouring Emperor? Why did he have to come at this time? He really knows how to pick a time. Su Yi's face was livid, and he was a little unhappy. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor and the Green Emperor were both in closed-door cultivation, and it would take them 1 or 2 days to come out. His elder brother, Merciless West, had just left a few days ago. Among the Emperor-level experts in the Bawang sect, only Huang Jian was left here, and he could fight. However, he had just broken through to the Origin Emperor realm, so he was no match for the Spirit-devouring Emperor. This made Su Yi very depressed. He had wanted to wait until the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had broken through to the Origin Emperor realm, and then go out to find trouble with the Spirit-devouring Emperor and take back the golden scale blazing skybow. Who would have thought that at such a critical moment, the other party would come knocking on his door? This made Su Yi so anxious that he scratched his head. Sect leader, what are you going to do? Huang Jian looked at Su Yi and said solemnly, why don't I go and stop him? Sect leader, You go first. I'll come and find you after I'm free. Huang Jian could not think of a good way to deal with the spirit-devouring emperor. It was not a bad idea to think of a way to escape first. However, even if Huang Jian could successfully get rid of the spirit-devouring emperor, he would definitely suffer a great loss. Let's find a way to delay him first. He made up his mind immediately. He did not dare to confront an LV4 Demon Emperor realm expert head-on. It was better to delay time until the Green Emperor and the Yin Hell Emperor came out of closed-door cultivation. It was not a good idea to let Huang Jian block the spirit-devouring emperor. He might die in the hands of the spirit-devouring emperor, which was not what Sui wanted to see. That's the only way. Huang Jian nodded and said solemnly. In the sky above the dense forest, a figure flashed quickly. This figure was very short, so short that it was as tall as a 3-year-old child. However, the face of this childlike person was very mature. He seemed to be in his 50s. His white clothes were a little too big for his body, and his face and body were very incompatible. This person was the spirit-devouring emperor, who was extremely famous. At this moment, the spirit-devouring emperor's old face was extremely sullen, but he was holding back his anger. He looked like a barrel of gunpowder, ready to explode at any moment. A few days ago, he met a little human being and obtained the golden-scaled blazing sky bow from him. He thought that he could easily kill the little human being, but the little human ran away. That was not the point. The point was that he had been tricked by the little human being. Later, the spirit-devouring emperor knew that Yang Baiquan and Wei Yidao of the Gimdao sect were chasing after the little human being, but they were both used by the little human being. As a demon royal realm expert, he had his own pride. Even though he had seen through the little human being's scheme, he did not intend to explain it to Yang Baifa and the others to resolve the grudge. His pride made him disdain to explain anything. If Yang Baiquan wanted to fight, he would accompany him to the end. After a series of fierce clashes, the devouring spirit emperor and the two from the Golden Saber sect were locked in a stalemate. Both of them had suffered quite a bit of losses. It was only when both sides realized that there was no result to continue fighting that they finally stopped. The spirit-devouring emperor also carefully healed his wounds, but the resentment in his heart was burning more and more fiercely. With nowhere to vent it, he was so sullen that he was about to explode. He was on the verge of going berserk. He was a demon royal, but he was tricked by a little human being. How could he bear it? The spirit-devouring emperor decided that he must find the little human being and tear him into pieces. However, after searching in the forest for a few days, he found nothing. This made the spirit-devouring emperor feel more and more sullen. Today, he happened to pass by nearby. Thinking that this was the territory of the Yin Hell Flood Dragon, he could not help but come to him directly. They were both demon royal realm experts who lived in the same area. The spirit-devouring emperor and the Yin Hell Emperor knew each other, and there were some grievances between them. Therefore, the spirit-devouring emperor, who had nowhere to vent his anger, came to find the Yin Hell Emperor. He wanted to have a good fight with the Yin Hell Emperor to vent his anger. Chapter 986. In addition, the spirit-devouring emperor also knew that the Yin underworld ant's cultivation was slightly weaker than his and was no match for him. That was why the spirit-devouring emperor was so unscrupulous. Otherwise, if the Yin underworld flood dragon was stronger, the spirit-devouring emperor would be looking for a beating instead of venting his anger. The spirit-devouring emperor shouted coldly and declared war on the Yin underworld flood dragon. However, no one responded for a long time. This situation made his mood even worse. An icy aura spread out as if winter had suddenly arrived. Cold mist rose in the air and shrouded the area below. Why are you still not coming out? Do you want me to ask you to come out? The spirit-devouring emperor could not wait any longer. Since the Yin underworld emperor did not respond, he wanted to directly attack and turn the place upside down. Greetings, Lord Beast Emperor. At this moment, a silver cloud leopard directly stepped into the air and bowed to the spirit-devouring emperor with great respect. It was trembling and did not dare to raise its head to look at the childlike old man. "You are the silver cloud leopard under the Yin-Yang underworld flood dragon. Ask him to come out now, or I will raise this place to the ground." Staring at the silver cloud leopard, the spirit-devouring emperor snorted coldly. His sharp voice penetrated directly into people's minds. He just wanted to bully the Yin-Yang underworld flood dragon and had no patience. "Lord Spirit-devouring Emperor, our Lord Beast Emperor is in seclusion and will come out in a day or two. If you have something to do, can you wait here for a day or two?" The silver cloud leopard was extremely polite and bowed to the spirit-devouring emperor. He asked him to say this in order to delay the spirit-devouring emperor. God knew what the dwarf had taken wrong medicine. If he could not find a way to delay the spirit-devouring emperor for a day or two, he felt that it would be a little dangerous. At this time, he was hiding with Su Xiaoshui and Huang Jian. His aura was completely restrained as he did not want the spirit-devouring emperor to find them. If the spirit-devouring emperor found that the place had changed owners and the Yin-Yang underworld emperor had submitted to a human being, he would definitely attack them directly or escape quickly. In Su Yi's plan, it was best to delay time and wait for the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang underworld emperor to deal with the spirit-devouring emperor, take back the golden blazing sky bow, and deal with the spirit-devouring emperor. The spirit-devouring emperor. The spirit-devouring emperor. Emperor? Seclusion? Hearing the silver cloud leopard's words, the devouring spirit snorted coldly. Along with a terrifying pressure, it pressed down on the silver cloud leopard and said, "Hurry up and get him to come out. Otherwise, I don't mind tearing down his cave residence and dragging him out." Emperor was the spirit-devouring emperor, was emperor's emperor, seclusion emperor. Emperor was an emperor, emperor's emperor. Was emperor lord emperor, was emperor, emperor. S lord beast? Emperor, 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 emperor. Emperor was emperor, emperor. Emperor, 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 emperor. Emperor for him, for it the mountain. Emperor, 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 emperor. As a emperor, 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 emperor. Emperor as. My lord, I'll go check on my lord. The silver cloud leopard was suppressed so much that he could not speak clearly in front of the spirit-devouring emperor. He did not delay any longer. He turned around and ran to the back of the mountain. A moment later, the silver cloud leopard appeared in front of Su Yi. Before he could speak, Su Yi asked him to calm down and regulate his breath to suppress the fear of the spirit-devouring emperor. Su Yi heard the conversation between the two, which gave Su Yi a headache. As expected, the spirit-devouring emperor was not easy to fool. The spirit-devouring emperor was determined to meet the Yin-Yang underworld emperor and fight with him. This made Su Yi feel helpless. "Boss, why don't you let me deal with him? Maybe I can't win, but I won't be at a disadvantage." Su Xiaoshui looked at Su Yi and said confidently. He was now at the 9th level of the Demon Void stage, not far from the Demon Royal Realm. In addition, his Phoenix bloodline gave him the ability to fight at a higher level. It might be difficult for him to deal with the spirit-devouring emperor, who was at the 4th level of the Demon Royal Realm, but it was not difficult for him to stall him. At the very least, Handsome Su would be more confident than Huang Jian if he were to step in. "Wait." He shook his head and said to the silver cloud leopard next to him, "Try to stall him again later. Take the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey with you. But remember, if the spirit-devouring emperor makes any move, run immediately. I'll find a way to distract him." He was a little helpless. He wanted to try again. If he could really stall the spirit-devouring emperor, he would not have to take the risk. Yes. The silver cloud leopard calmed himself down. He walked out of the back of the mountain and flew up to the spirit-devouring emperor again. At the same time, the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey stood in front of the spirit-devouring emperor with him, but there was a long distance between them. "Master spirit-devouring emperor, my master is still in closed-door cultivation. I can't go in and inform him," the silver cloud leopard said respectfully. He looked at the spirit-devouring emperor and said, Master, why don't you go down and have a cup of tea and wait for my master to come out?" The silver cloud leopard was very nervous. He had said something similar before, but the spirit-devouring emperor was angry. He did not know what would happen this time. However, with the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey by his side, he was a little braver. Yes, Master Spirit-Devouring Emperor will wait outside the cave residence where my master is in closed-door cultivation. Once he comes out, he'll know you're here immediately, the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey said respectfully. As they spoke, the two beasts unconsciously glanced at the spirit-devouring emperor, wanting to see his reaction immediately. If the situation was bad, the silver cloud leopard and the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey would retreat immediately to avoid being at a disadvantage in front of the spirit-devouring emperor. This was what Su-Yi had asked them to do. Closed-door cultivation, is it? Hearing the words of the silver cloud leopard and the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey, the spirit-devouring emperor snorted again and said, "In that case, I'll tear this place down first and then drag the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon out." As soon as he finished speaking, the spirit-devouring emperor's aura burst out. Terrifying cold air rolled out, freezing the surrounding space in an instant. Retreat. The silver cloud leopard and the red-wind, black-eyed demon monkey saw that the situation was not good and had already retreated. Even so, they were still attacked by the cold air. Their lips began to tremble, and their blood was about to freeze. The spirit-devouring emperor was furious. He was here to cause trouble, so why would he wait here for a day or two? He just wanted to get the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon out and get rid of the grievances in his heart. Spirit-devouring emperor. Suddenly, just as the spirit-devouring emperor was about to attack, a voice suddenly sounding very surprised. The voice came so suddenly that the spirit-devouring emperor was stunned. Chapter 987. The spirit-devouring emperor recognized the voice immediately. The voice was very familiar to him. Wasn't it the human brat who had tricked him? Turning around abruptly, the spirit-devouring emperor looked in the direction of the voice and saw the boy standing below. "It's really you, human boy." The spirit-devouring emperor's face suddenly turned cold as he stared at Su-Yi and said coldly. Of course, he remembered Su-Yi. It was this boy who had tricked him and made him sullen for a long time. How could the spirit-devouring emperor forget? Spirit-devouring emperor, why are you here? Su-Yi sneaked to the periphery at this time and looked extremely shocked, as if he had accidentally bumped into the spirit-devouring emperor. His expression was very strange at this moment. His shock was mixed with nervousness and fear, and he unconsciously took a step back. Of course, this was all an act by Su-Yi to dispel the spirit-devouring emperor's suspicion. He did not want the spirit-devouring emperor to destroy this place, nor would he allow the spirit-devouring emperor to kill the silver cloud leopard, the red-wind, black-eyed, demonic monkey, and the others. Therefore, he could only come out to distract the spirit-devouring emperor and stall for time. "Humph, human boy, you can't escape today." The spirit-devouring emperor snorted coldly again, and this time, the coldness was much stronger than before. There was a strange white light in his eyes, which was extremely terrifying. "Senior Demon Emperor, I've never offended you, but why do you want to kill me again and again?" Su-Yi's face darkened as he said angrily to the spirit-devouring emperor. As he spoke, he pressed handsome Su, who was poking his head out of his arms with one hand, not allowing him to speak up now. "I never need any reason to kill," the spirit-devouring emperor said coldly, and his face turned even paler. This human boy kept poking at his sore spot. As a demon emperor, he could not tell Su-Yi that he felt indignant because he had been tricked by him. However, this was no longer important. The spirit-devouring emperor sneered, and his eyes shone brightly, reflecting the scene of snow and ice mountains. This boy had appeared again. As long as he killed him, he would be able to relieve his grievances. Now that the main character had appeared, there was no need to vent his anger on the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon. "So what if you're a demon emperor? You're just a bully. That's probably all you've got," shouted Su-Yi's words to the spirit-devouring emperor again. These words sounded extremely indignant, but in reality, Su-Yi had deliberately said them. He knew that this was all nonsense. In the face of absolute strength, there was no need to talk about so much. He was just trying to provoke the spirit-devouring Emperor's way. Kid, let's see if you can still be so stubborn when I get my hands on you. The devouring spirit emperor snorted coldly and pounced on Su-yi without hesitation. Is a demon emperor? Emperor is a demon emperor? Demon emperor? I think you have a death wish. Just then, handsome Su opened his mouth and yelled. Before she could finish her sentence, Su-yi pinched her mouth shut. Then, Su-yi turned around and used his movement skill to quickly escape into the distance. This was his plan. He wanted to lure the spirit-devouring emperor away and delay him for a day or two. During this period, he had to rely on handsome Su to deal with the spirit-devouring emperor. You're still so arrogant. I'll make you suffer until you die. The spirit-devouring emperor was even more furious. Handsome Su was just a little bird in the monster void realm, but he didn't take him seriously at all. Boss, let me take care of him. Handsome Su couldn't stand it anymore and said to Su-yi. He wasn't afraid of the spirit-devouring emperor. Even though there was a big realm between them, handsome Su knew he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Don't worry, let's lure him away first. Su-yi hurriedly comforted handsome Su to stop him from acting recklessly. His plan was not only to lure the spirit-devouring emperor away. Su-yi also wanted to delay for a few days. When the time came, he would take back his golden scale, blazing sky bow, and deal with the spirit-devouring emperor. That was the best result. Obviously, it was not a good time to stay here. At the very least, he had to preserve this place. Su-yi used his speed to escape and ran towards the distance. How can I let you escape in front of me? The spirit-devouring emperor sneered and shot out an icy waterfall from his hand. It was like a Milky Way sweeping toward Su-yi's back. Such an attack carried an unparalleled power. Before it really arrived, it had already frozen the air. Su-yi's speed was greatly affected, and his escape slowed down a lot. He saw the spirit-devouring emperor quickly approaching him again. Boss, let me do it. Handsome Su called out. Immediately, he opened his beak and spat out a flame, which spread out in the void in an instant. Sizzle. With a sizzling sound, the terrifying icy energy quickly disintegrated. Su-yi suddenly felt his body lighten. Behind him, the icy waterfall collided with the flame. The two completely opposite forces began to devour each other crazily. In the end, the icy energy and the flame dissipated in the void at the same time. The spirit-devouring emperor exclaimed softly. He was extremely surprised. He never thought that the ordinary-looking little bird would have such power and influence. After all, the little bird's cultivation base was only at the 9th level demon void stage, but it was on par with the spirit-devouring emperor's attack. This was too unusual. Could it be that he has a terrifying origin? The spirit-devouring emperor raised his eyebrows and thought to himself. Handsome Su's performance surprised him. It was hard to believe that the little bird was so arrogant. It turned out that it was quite powerful. However, the spirit-devouring emperor was not afraid. He was confident that with his cultivation base, no matter how powerful the little bird's bloodline was, it should not be able to defeat him. When I catch you, I'll study you carefully. Perhaps I'll gain some great benefits from you. The spirit-devouring emperor muttered to himself. His eyes that were glowing with a strange white light were filled with anticipation. An extraordinary origin and a powerful bloodline. Such a living being was too valuable. Anyone who knew about it would be envious. Then, he chased again and quickly closed the distance between him and Su-yi. Boss, hurry up. As they ran, handsome Su kept urging Su-yi to hurry up. Fortunately, the ice marrow spirit-devouring bug was not known for its speed. Otherwise, it would have caught up with Su-yi in an instant. Even so, with Su-yi's full power, the spirit-devouring sovereign was quickly closing in on him. Why don't I take you? Handsome Su was a little anxious. He flew out of Su-yi's arms and shot out a ray of light that enveloped Su-yi's body. Chapter 988. Boss, I'm much faster than you. Handsome Su looked at Su Yi proudly and said with a smirk, "Stop joking. Let's find a way to get rid of him for the time being. Let's find a place to rest." Su Yi rolled his eyes at Handsome Su. He felt helpless in front of Handsome Su. After all, this guy had the divine bird bloodline of the phoenix. His cultivation speed was too abnormal. Now, he was already at the 9th level of the demon void stage, much higher than him. His bloodline and cultivation were much stronger than his. Naturally, his speed was not on the same level. He could only sigh, "I'm not as good as a bird." Therefore, Spirit-Devouring Emperor could not catch up with him for a while. However, it was difficult to get rid of an Emperor stage expert. Handsome Su flew with all his strength, flapping his wings nonstop. As time went by, Handsome Su awkwardly found that Spirit-Devouring Emperor was still not far behind him. He was always in his sight and could not get rid of him. If he had to find a place to rest like Su Yi said, when would he be able to get rid of him? Damn, old man. After I break through to the Demon Royal stage, I'll beat him to the ground. Handsome Su was a little anxious. He could not help but gnash his teeth. Being chased by Spirit-Devouring Emperor made him feel a little aggrieved. If it were not for Su Yi stopping him, Handsome Su would have stopped and fought with him. In fact, when Handsome Su was cursing, Spirit-Devouring Emperor, who was chasing closely behind him, was also extremely shocked. It's really not simple. I'm afraid the origin of this little bird is really a little unusual. Spirit-Devouring Emperor muttered, becoming more and more certain of his guess. With his cultivation, it was hard to believe that he could not catch up with a little bird at the 9th level of the Demon Void stage. It was not only because he was not good at speed, nor was it because his opponent was a bird. It was mainly because of his bloodline advantage. Spirit-Devouring Emperor's eyes lit up. He only felt that he was really lucky to encounter such an extraordinary bloodline. "When I catch you, I must study you carefully," Spirit-Devouring Emperor muttered to himself. Apart from Handsome Su, the human boy also seemed to be a little unusual. With this thought in mind, the Spirit-Devouring Emperor chased after him. Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui were in the front, and the Devouring Spirit Emperor was behind them. The two parties, one chasing and the other fleeing, moved quickly. Not long after, they plunged into a dense forest one after another, and their figures disappeared. Huang Jian, the cloud-stepping silver leopard, the scarlet wind black-eyed demonic monkey, the Xinyang golden demonic falcon, the wolf-headed demonic bat, and the others had gathered in the Yin-Yang underworld emperor's lair. What should we do? The Devouring Spirit Emperor is chasing after the two lords. The silver cloud leopard was anxious. He didn't even dare to breathe loudly in front of the Devouring Spirit Emperor. He was extremely nervous even after saying a few words. Now, Su Yi and Handsome Su were trying to distract the Spirit-Devouring Emperor. Otherwise, this lair would probably be lost. "I hope the sect leader and the others are fine," Huang Jian said worriedly. They didn't know Handsome Su's cultivation level yet, so they couldn't help but worry about the two girls. Being chased by a Demon Realm expert was no joke. Their lives could be in danger at any time. "Should we inform Lord Merciless West?" the black-eyed demon monkey asked. Now, they could only think of Merciless West. Other than him, no one else could help Su Yi. Lord Merciless West must have started refining pills. "We can't disturb him." The silver cloud leopard shook his head and said. After hearing this, everyone present fell into a short silence. "I believe that Master will be fine." He lured the Devouring Spirit Emperor away in order to protect this place. "Let's just wait here. Perhaps in 2 days, he will be back." Xinyang Golden Demon Falcon said to the other beasts, its eyes gleaming. "That's right. Lord will be back soon. No one can pose a threat to him." The wolf-headed demonic bat chimed in from the side. Among the people and beasts, they were all savage beasts who had followed Su Yi for a long time. They knew that Su Yi was extraordinary and had full confidence in him. They only felt that every time something happened, it was not their lord who was unlucky, but someone else. Perhaps at this time, they should be most worried about the Spirit-Devouring Emperor. "Stay here and guard. Don't make any mistakes. I'll go check out the situation." In the end, Huang Jian who had the highest cultivation level, made the decision and said to the other beasts. Then he left in a flash, following the direction that Su, Yi, and the spirit-devouring emperor had gone. In the dense forest, Su, Yi was led by little handsome Su as they traveled quickly. The spirit-devouring emperor followed closely behind. The distance between the two parties was maintained. For a time, no one could do anything to the other. You guys are really good at running. Let's see how long you can run. The spirit-devouring emperor said with a gloomy face. The anger in his heart was blazing. Now that it was difficult to catch Su, Yi, and handsome Su, it seemed that he was going to explode. Under such circumstances, it was impossible to catch up with the man and the bird. The only thing he could hope for was that their cultivation levels were not high enough, and they would be exhausted early and unable to continue running. Handsome Su, can you go faster? We need to find a place to rest. He looked at handsome Su, who kept flapping his wings, and asked aloud. He had to find time to enter the mysterious space to check on the situation of the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor and the Green Emperor. He cannot be chased like this forever. I can go faster, but it will consume a lot of energy. If we're discovered by the spirit-devouring emperor, it will be really difficult for us to escape. Handsome Su's little face finally showed a serious look. He would not be afraid if he was alone, but now he had to take Su-Yi with him. Moreover, he could not really get rid of the spirit-devouring emperor. Otherwise, all their efforts would be in vain. Then we'll talk about it later. Hearing handsome Su's words, Su-Yi thought for a moment and said, he knew handsome Su's strength. It would not be too difficult for him to get rid of the spirit-devouring emperor, but it would be difficult not to be caught by the spirit-devouring emperor, and at the same time, not lose track of the spirit-devouring emperor. Under such circumstances, the chase between the two continued. This place is a little familiar. It's near Sword Star City. After nearly a day and a night, Su-Yi and handsome Su came to a mountain range that gave them a sense of familiarity. It was not too far away from Sword Star City. Handsome, hurry up and get rid of the spirit-devouring emperor. I know a cave. Let's stop there for a while. Under Su-Yi's instructions, handsome Su's speed suddenly soared. As he flapped his wings, there was a faint flame. Chapter 989. Su-Yi calculated the time. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor should have finished refining the Golden Dragon's blood essence by now. If they managed to get rid of the Devouring Emperor, they would definitely leave some traces behind, which could be easily found. However, Su-Yi was no longer afraid. Even if the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had not finished their breakthroughs, he could fight the Spirit-Devouring Emperor with handsome Su. They would not be defeated anytime soon. Handsome Su was worthy of the Phoenix bloodline. It did not take long for them to get rid of the spirit-devouring emperor. Quick, go to the left. There's a hidden cave there. Let's go in. Under Su-Yi's guidance, they soon found a cave. It was difficult to find under the cover of the lush bushes. Su-Yi had found this place by accident earlier. He did not expect it to come in handy today. When I catch that old guy, I'll teach him a lesson. Handsome Su was a little angry. He had never been hunted like this before. If it were not for the bigger plan, he would have fought the spirit-devouring emperor. Handsome, you protect me. I'll go and see how the Green Emperor and the others are doing. Su-Yi ignored handsome Su's grumbling. After greeting him, Su-Yi summoned the mysterious dimension and entered it. Handsome Su found a huge stone and blocked the entrance of the cave, so that the light of the mysterious space would not be transmitted to the outside world. Then, he quieted down and restrained his aura. Outside, the spirit-devouring emperor only saw a faint flame on the bird's body. Then the bird's speed skyrocketed. Soon, he lost sight of the man and the bird. After searching for a while, the spirit-devouring emperor still could not find them. Do you really think you can escape from me? You're too naive. The spirit-devouring emperor said coldly. His cultivation suddenly erupted. A terrible cold aura swept out and penetrated every inch of the space. Under his powerful investigation, some clues appeared and were discovered by the spirit-devouring emperor. A moment later, the childlike figure moved and rushed in a certain direction. Inside the cave, The light flashed and then disappeared. Su-Yi's figure appeared. "Boss, are they still not done yet?" Seeing that Su-Yi was alone, handsome Su guessed the result. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead were probably not done yet. "It should be soon. Let's wait here for a while. It won't be easy for the spirit-devouring Emperor to find this place." Su-Yi nodded and said to handsome Su, "It's hard to grasp the timing." Suddenly, handsome Su opened his mouth and said, "Boss, I have an idea." "What method?" Su-Yi raised his eyebrows. "I'll go out and lure the spirit-devouring Emperor away. You wait here for the Green Emperor and the others. When it's time, bring them to me," handsome Su said. Su-Yi thought for a moment. This was indeed a safe method. He had a soul connection with handsome Su. As long as he didn't go too far, he could roughly sense the location. In this way, it would be very easy to find handsome Su with the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead. The only thing that Su-Yi was worried about was handsome Su's safety. "Boss, don't worry. I can easily protect myself in front of the spirit-devouring Emperor." Handsome Su smiled and said confidently, "Good, but you have to be careful. Don't go too far. Just stay around here. If anything happens, come back here immediately." Su-Yi thought for a moment and reminded him. "I know." Handsome Su nodded and then flew out of the cave. After resealing the cave, Su-Yi sat down cross-legged and began to meditate. He knew that handsome Su was not stupid. This should not be a problem for him. Another 8 hours passed in a hurry. During this time, the spirit-devouring Emperor did not find this place. "Let's go and have a look." Su-Yi opened his eyes and summoned the mysterious space. His figure flashed into it. "Master, you're here." "Greetings, Master." This time, as soon as Su-Yi entered, 2 surprised voices rang in his ears. "You're awake." Hearing these 2 voices, Su-Yi was overjoyed. He sensed carefully and found that the aura of these 2 people had become much stronger. They had both broken through to the peak of the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Su-Yi was pleasantly surprised by this speed. At this rate, the cultivation of the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead would surpass that of his elder brother, Merciless West. "Thank you for your kindness, Master." Seeing Su-Yi, the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead were about to kneel down again. However, they were stopped by Su-Yi. The golden dragon's blood essence they had obtained this time was extremely terrifying. Its main function wasn't to increase one's cultivation base. Instead, it was to imbue the golden dragon's blood with a special power and some secret inheritances. These were the most precious parts of the blood essence. It was enough to benefit the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead for the rest of their lives. It was also because of this that they were even more grateful to Su-Yi. If it were not for this young man, how could they have obtained such a great opportunity? This was something that they did not dare to imagine. "We're on the same side. Don't be so polite in the future." Su-Yi smiled and said, "You've woken up just in time. I need your help with something." Then he told them about the spirit-devouring Emperor. "The spirit-devouring Emperor and I have some conflicts. I didn't expect that he would dare to attack Master this time. He must be tired of living." The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead was instantly enraged. "He offended Master last time, and we haven't settled the score with him yet. How dare he come to us again?" The Green Emperor said with a murderous look on his face. The 2 of them had just refined the golden dragon's blood essence and were enjoying themselves. However, they were disrupted by such news, which made them even angrier. No matter what, they had to avenge their master and make the spirit-devouring Emperor regret what he had done. "Let's go. Little Commander is still holding him back. Let's go and help him." Su-Yi did not delay any longer. He led the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead out of the mysterious space. He opened the cave and entered the forest. "This time, I'm going to make the spirit-devouring Emperor pay for what he has done." There was a hint of a sneer in his tone. He had made up his mind to make the spirit-devouring Emperor pay the price. Even if he did not kill the spirit-devouring Emperor of the Dead, he would at least teach him a lesson. "Let's go." Su-Yi did not waste any more time and moved instantly. Chapter 990. In the forest, the spirit-devouring emperor's nostrils began to fume. His tiny body, which was as small as a baby, could not help but tremble as he clenched his fists tightly. "You damn bird! When I catch you, I'll pluck your feathers one by one and make them into a fan." Looking at the bird that was running away quickly, the spirit-devouring emperor could not help but roar as he chased after it. He had been chasing Handsome Sue for a long time in the forest, but he still could not catch him. Instead, he was furious. "You're a demon royal, but you're only good at talking. Catch me first if you can." Handsome Sue turned around and gave the spirit-devouring emperor a contemptuous look. Then, he flapped his wings and flew away quickly. Once again, the devouring spirit emperor was infuriated by Su Hao's stare. With a roar, he unleashed a terrifying icicle towards Su Hao. The spirit-devouring emperor's attack could attack one's soul. It was very terrifying. However, Handsome Sue dodged it easily with a twist of his body. He was unusually agile. The spirit-devouring emperor was furious, but he could do nothing to Handsome Sue. For almost half a day, Su Xiaoshui led the spirit-devouring emperor around in circles in the forest. They kept the distance between them and the cave, where Su Yi was at the right distance. During this period, Handsome Sue would occasionally stop and fight with the spirit-devouring emperor. Now that he was at the 9th level of the Demon Void stage, he was not afraid of the spirit-devouring emperor. However, Handsome Sue knew Su Yi's plan, so he did not show his full strength to avoid arousing the spirit-devouring emperor's suspicion and making him run away. Otherwise, Handsome Sue would definitely have a good fight with the spirit-devouring emperor. "Damned bird, I hope you won't fall into my hands." The spirit-devouring emperor gritted his teeth and chased after Handsome Sue. He knew that Handsome Sue had been toying with him for a long time. He was a demon royal, but he had been tricked by a bird several times. It was a great humiliation for him. He had noticed that the human boy had disappeared. Perhaps he was hiding somewhere. However, after Handsome Sue's provocation, the spirit-devouring emperor had forgotten about it. Right now, all he wanted to do was to catch this lowly bird, pluck out all its feathers, and make it into a fan. The spirit-devouring emperor couldn't figure out why this ordinary-looking bird had such a special look in its eyes. It was looking at him as if he were a lowly creature. And this was one of the reasons why he was so angry. "Little bug, come and catch me." Handsome Sue turned around and shouted. The spirit-devouring emperor was so angry that he felt dizzy. He was an ice marrow spirit-devouring bug, but no one had ever called him a little bug. The two of them, one in front and one behind, quickly traversed through the forest. However, at a certain moment, Su Xiaoshuai's body suddenly stopped moving forward. Then, he turned around and ran in a certain direction. The spirit-devouring emperor didn't think too much about it. He just chased after them angrily. However, when Handsome Sue turned around a mountain, the spirit-devouring emperor suddenly lost sight of the bird. After sensing for a while, the spirit-devouring emperor found traces of Handsome Sue's departure. However, just as he was about to continue the chase, a figure flew out from the side and came to the spirit-devouring emperor with black and white light. It was a middle-aged man with a demonic look on his face. He was looking at the spirit-devouring emperor with a smile. "Ice marrow spirit-devouring bug, I heard that you were looking for me," the man said, looking at the spirit-devouring emperor. "Yin-yang hell flood dragon, you've come out of seclusion?" Looking at the man, the spirit-devouring emperor frowned and said coldly, "I don't have time to waste on you now. You'd better not provoke me." Right now, he just wanted to catch Handsome Sue and that human boy. He had gone to find Yin-yang hell flood dragon to vent his anger, but now he couldn't wait to catch the two masters. How could he be in a mood to deal with Yin-yang hell flood dragon? The spirit-devouring emperor was so angry that he didn't think about why Yin-yang hell flood dragon would come here and find him so quickly after coming out of seclusion. Yin-yang hell flood dragon was not angry at all. He just smiled faintly and said, "You seem to want to fight with me, right? Why are you so angry? Are you angry because you were bullied?" He looked at the spirit-devouring emperor with a faint smile. There was a strong sense of mockery in his eyes, which he didn't hide at all. Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon, are you looking for a fight? Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon's words immediately enraged the spirit-devouring emperor. He was really poking at his sore spot. He couldn't tell Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon that he, a demonic emperor, was angered by a human boy and a bird. How could he save his face if that happened? However, it was the truth. How could he justify himself? Because of this, the spirit-devouring emperor felt more and more aggrieved, and his old face began to turn purple. Get out of my way, or don't blame me for being rude. The spirit-devouring emperor was extremely irritable and roared at Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon. His strength had always been superior to Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon, so his roar was naturally very confident. As soon as he finished speaking, the spirit-devouring emperor turned around and was about to go after Su Xiaoshui. However, Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon stopped him and said, "I'd like to see how you're going to be rude to me today." Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon said to the spirit-devouring emperor with a cold voice and a fierce look in his eyes. As he spoke, a black and white light burst out. It was extremely fierce and swept toward the spirit-devouring emperor in an instant. "You dare to fight with me?" The spirit-devouring emperor was furious. He stared at Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon fiercely and waved his small arm abruptly. Chi-la, in a flash, a terrifying icy aura swept across the area. It was as if winter had suddenly arrived in this area. It was so cold that it pierced straight into one's soul and made one shiver. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon sneered and punched at the spirit-devouring emperor fiercely, like a dragon coming out of its cave. Black and white light flowed on the surface of this punch. Yin Chi burst forth, and wherever it passed, it smashed the void with a rumbling sound. At this moment, the spirit-devouring emperor held an ice spear in his hand and stabbed it directly at Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon's punch. Suddenly, the two collided, and a terrifying power burst out. It set off a violent energy storm and spread in the forest. Chi, one tree after another was turned into fine powder by the shattering energy, and one rock after another was blasted apart. The two silhouettes also separated from each other upon contact. The fifth demon emperor realm. How could? The spirit-devouring emperor retreated more than 300 meters before he managed to stabilize himself. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and the ice spear in his hand had been shattered. He looked at the spirit-devouring emperor in shock, as if he had seen a ghost. His heart was in turmoil. Chapter 991. At this moment, the spirit-devouring emperor was extremely shocked. He and the Yin Yang Hell Emperor were old acquaintances. For many years, the Yin Yang Hell Emperor's strength had always been weaker than his. The spirit-devouring emperor was now at LV4 of the Demon Royal Realm. In his impression, the Yin Yang Hell Emperor was at LV3 of the Demon Royal Realm. Even if the Yin Yang Hell Emperor had just come out of seclusion and made a breakthrough, it was impossible for him to reach LV5 of the Demon Royal Realm in such a short time. Moreover, the Yin Yang Hell Emperor was at the peak of LV5, which was not far from LV6 of the Demon Royal Realm. This was completely beyond the spirit-devouring emperor's imagination. He had never expected the Yin Yang Hell Emperor to be so powerful. How could this be? How could you be so strong? The spirit-devouring emperor murmured. He was almost stunned on the spot. In this case, he was far from being a match for the Yin Yang Hell Emperor. If he continued to fight, he would only suffer a great loss. "If you surrender, I'll tell you the reason," the Yin Yang Hell Emperor said with a smile. At the same time, his aura surged again like billowing waves. Black and white light poured out in all directions. "You want to fight me?" The spirit-devouring emperor was furious again. He was surprised that the Yin Yang Hell Emperor wanted to fight him. He had gone to make trouble for the Yin Yang Hell Emperor, but he had never thought of fighting him to the death. Although there were grievances between them, they had not reached the point of life and death. Therefore, the spirit-devouring emperor was furious when he heard the Yin Yang Hell Emperor's words. He had never felt so helpless as he did today. Endless grievances surged in his heart. He had been chasing a human being and a bird. His cultivation was far stronger than theirs, but he could not catch them. At this time, the Yin Hell Emperor suddenly jumped out and showed his powerful cultivation, which shocked the spirit-devouring emperor. More importantly, the Yin Hell Emperor showed up here to fight him. The spirit-devouring emperor could not understand. There were only some grievances between them. It did not make sense for them to go this far. Spirit-devouring emperor, if you're smart, don't be so stubborn. The Yin underworld emperor roared. He leaped into the air and took a step forward, causing the void to tremble. His cultivation at the peak of the LV5 Demon Emperor realm was fully unleashed. The black and white light turned into two fierce ribbons that rushed out and entangled the spirit-devouring emperor. The Yin Hell Emperor didn't want to delay any longer. His master was still waiting for him. The devouring spirit emperor didn't know what was good for him. Since he dared to bully his master, he had to teach him a lesson. Yin Abyss Flood Dragon, do you really think I'm afraid of you? The spirit-devouring emperor was enraged. Seeing the Yin Hell Emperor charging at him, he attacked again without hesitation. In an instant, a terrifying battle erupted between the two of them. Both of them were in the Demon Royal realm and were extremely powerful. Every move they made was filled with great power. The battle between them was accompanied by a tsunami of energy that swept through the heavens and the earth. The cold air and the black and white light intertwined, fiercely colliding with each other. The surrounding forest collapsed and turned into powder. Some of the smaller mountains were flattened. One had to admit that the spirit-devouring emperor was strong, but unfortunately, the Yin Hell Emperor was stronger than him. Not long after the fight, the Yin Hell Emperor's palm landed on the devouring spirit emperor's chest with a bang. It was a solid blow. The spirit-devouring emperor, who was as short as a baby, flew backward and smashed a small mountain behind him. Boom! Puff! The spirit-devouring emperor stopped and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned gloomy. The Yin Hell Emperor didn't show any mercy in that attack. The spirit-devouring emperor smelled the scent of death. Yin Abyss Flood Dragon, I'll remember what you did today. I'll make you pay for it one day. The spirit-devouring emperor said as he looked at the Yin Hell Emperor gloomily. He finally calmed down. He knew that the situation was not on his side today. If he continued to fight, he would definitely suffer a great loss in the end. Therefore, he decided to retreat. He didn't want to be entangled with the Yin Hell Emperor any longer. The spirit-devouring emperor calculated in his heart. He couldn't defeat the Yin Hell Emperor, but if he wanted to leave, the latter couldn't stop him. Humph! The spirit-devouring emperor snorted coldly again. He rose into the air and was about to leave. The Yin Hell Emperor didn't say anything, nor did he stop him. He just looked at the spirit-devouring emperor with a sneer as if he were watching a clown. In the next moment, a green light appeared out of nowhere and fell from the sky like an inescapable net covering the spirit-devouring emperor. The spirit-devouring emperor, who was about to escape, was knocked down by the green light. He fell back to the opposite side of the Yin Hell Emperor, who launched a sneak attack. The spirit-devouring emperor was horrified. He quickly steadied himself and looked up. Finally, he saw another man appear and walk toward him step by step. Who allowed you to leave? The man was the Green Emperor. He chuckled and said to the spirit-devouring emperor. He had been waiting aside to prevent the spirit-devouring emperor from escaping. Another beast emperor at the peak of the LV5 Demon Emperor realm. The spirit-devouring emperor's face darkened when he saw the man. He felt as if a huge stone was pressing down on his heart. The man and the Yin Hell Emperor looked at each other. Obviously, they were together, which made the spirit-devouring emperor feel very uneasy. It seemed that the Yin Hell Emperor had come prepared and had brought helpers. Was he really going to kill him here today? Devouring Spirit Emperor, I've already told you to surrender. Why do you have to suffer such physical pain? Yin Underworld Emperor said aloud with a smile. What do you want? The spirit-devouring emperor asked coldly, his eyes gloomy. It was impossible for him to escape from two beast emperors at the peak of the LV5 Demon Emperor realm. Today, he was going to lose. However, the spirit-devouring emperor was proud. He would not surrender to the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor, even if he had to die. He just wanted to know what the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor wanted to do. Why did he go through so much trouble to join hands with others to deal with him? I don't want to do anything. It's just that you're too bold to attack my master. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor replied with a sneer. Master? The spirit-devouring emperor was confused. His old face was full of surprise. When did the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor have a master? But before he could ask in detail, the Green Emperor said, Our master's golden scale, blazing sky, Bao, is with you, right? Do you want to hand it over, or do you want to take it? Chapter 992. Your master's golden scale, blazing sky, Bao. Hearing the Green Emperor's words, spirit-devouring emperor was stunned. After a while, he came to his senses and asked in a daze, Your master is that human boy? Spirit-devouring emperor was greatly shocked. How could he not understand that the master they were talking about was that human boy? Spirit-devouring emperor didn't know the man who had just spoken, but he knew the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon. Since when did the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon recognize a human as his master? Moreover, his master was just a human boy who had just stepped into the Origin Void Realm. As if to confirm Spirit-devouring Emperor's thoughts while he was still in shock, Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui came out of a corner and flew into the air, looking at Spirit-devouring Emperor from afar. Spirit-devouring Emperor, we meet again. Su Yi looked at Spirit-devouring Emperor and said with a smile. He had long expected this day to come. When he gave Spirit-devouring Emperor the golden scale, blazing sky, Bao, he definitely wanted him to return it with more things. You old worm, aren't you good at chasing people? You even threatened to pluck all my feathers. Su Xiaoshui stood on Su Yi's shoulder and looked furious. He had been chased by Spirit-devouring Emperor for a long time in order to stall him. I didn't expect you to be in cahoots. It seems that you appeared in the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon's lair to set me up. At this point, Spirit-devouring Emperor understood that he had been tricked by the human boy. The human boy and the bird had led him around the forest for nearly 2 days. They must have been waiting for the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon to come out of seclusion so that they could deal with him and take back the golden scale, blazing sky, Bao. Not really. I just want to take back what belongs to me and collect some interest. Su Yi said with a smile. Spirit-devouring Emperor ignored him and turned to look at the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor and the Green Emperor. He said angrily, As emperors of the demon clan, you are willing to be driven by a human. This is the shame of the demon clan. The demon clan had always been at odds with the human clan. It was impossible for the powerful demon clan to serve a human as their master. Otherwise, they were forced to do so under the coercion of a powerful force. However, this human youth in front of him was merely in his teens with a cultivation base at the first level of the Origin Void stage. A person that he, the spirit-devouring sovereign, could slap into pieces with a single slap had actually become the master of 2 powerful demon emperors. How laughable and lamentable. As a member of the demon clan, the spirit-devouring emperor felt that he had been greatly humiliated. Let's see if you can still be so tough later. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor was a little unhappy. If it weren't for his master, he wouldn't have been able to improve so quickly. If he encountered the devouring spirit emperor now, he would definitely be bullied. Emperor's master's master was emperor, was master, emperor's master. Emperor's master had emperor had S master. Was his master had divine emperor, was emperor's master. Devouring spirit emperor, let's settle our debts one by one. Hand over the golden scorching heavens, Bao first. Su Yi looked at devouring spirit emperor and said aloud. The devouring spirit emperor was like a turtle in a jar. If nothing unexpected happened, he wouldn't be able to escape. Therefore, Su Yi was in a hurry. I won't hand over the golden scale, blazing sky, Bao. Come and get it yourself if you dare. Spirit-devouring emperor snorted. His sharp voice rang in their ears. So what if you have 2 demon emperors? You'll have to pay the price if you want to fight me. He was so aggrieved that he could not bear it anymore. He looked like he was going to fight with his life on the line. Indeed, if spirit-devouring Emperor fought with his life on the line, both Emperor Yin Yang and Green Emperor would suffer. Even if they did not die, they would be severely injured if their demon cores exploded. He's really tough. Su Yi's tone turned cold. Master, let's not talk nonsense with him. Let's finish him off. Green Emperor stared coldly at spirit-devouring Emperor. Su Yi nodded silently. Then he saw Emperor Yin Yang and Green Emperor pounce on spirit-devouring Emperor in an instant. Suddenly, the battle between the three demon emperors broke out. A terrifying force danced wildly and burst out in the mountain forest. The light was dazzling, and the power of the beast shook the sky. The terrifying power spread out. The surrounding trees and mountains were crushed like tofu and turned into ashes. Roar! From time to time, loud roars of beasts came out from their mouths, shaking the void. The aura of the demon emperor realm spread out. Countless savage beasts in the surrounding area heard it and fled in panic. They did not dare to stay in the vicinity. Kill, spirit-devouring emperor said. He kept shooting out icy chi, which was full of destructive aura, as if he wanted to freeze people's souls. Under the joint attack of the Green Emperor and the Yin Yang Emperor of the underworld, there was no way he could escape. Moreover, the two of them were suppressing the devouring Spirit Emperor with their powerful cultivation. If Su Yi had not told them not to kill him, the Green Emperor and Emperor Yin Yang would have killed him in a short while. You want me to surrender? You're not worthy. Spirit-devouring Emperor's arrogant and cold voice rang out in the air with a hint of arrogance. Oh no, he's going to explode his monster core. Emperor Yin Yang was shocked. He and Spirit-devouring Emperor were old acquaintances. He knew his temperament, which was extremely arrogant. It was because of this arrogance that he did not bother to explain to the people of the Gimdeo sect when he was tricked by Su Yi. It was also because of this arrogance that he would never surrender when facing the Green Emperor and Emperor Yin Yang, because the two of them had taken a human as their master. Quick, suppress him. Su Yi was in a hurry. He shouted and activated the Origin Supreme skill in his body. Terrifying pressure filled the 9 heavens, shaking the heavens and the earth. Then it rushed toward the devouring Spirit Emperor. Beside him, little handsome Su also moved. Crimson flames burst out from his eyes, dyeing the sky crimson as far as the eye could see. This light contained bloodline suppression, which instantly suppressed Spirit-devouring Emperor. Su Yi did not want Spirit-devouring Emperor to explode himself. Not only did he care about the safety of the Green Emperor and Emperor Yin Yang, but also because Spirit-devouring Emperor was very powerful. If he could subdue him, he would be a great help to the Bawang sect. In addition, his golden scorching sky, Bao, was still with him. He did not ask for it back. Ah! Spirit-devouring Emperor let out a cry of surprise and slowed down his action of exploding his monster core. Two different but equally domineering pressures pressed down on his beast soul, causing his body to tremble and almost fall to the ground. At this moment, the Green Emperor and the Yin Yang Emperor of the dead had already closed in on the Spirit-devouring Emperor. A large number of runes spread out and wrapped the Spirit-devouring Emperor into a light cocoon. Chapter 993. Puff! The Spirit-devouring Emperor spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale, and he looked dispirited. He wanted to blow himself up and activate his monster elixir. The chi in his body was shaken. Now that he was forcibly suppressed, he became extremely weak. Spirit-devouring Emperor, I told you to surrender, but you didn't listen. Otherwise, you wouldn't have suffered so much. The Yin Yang Emperor of the Netherworld said. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. The Spirit-devouring Emperor said with a pale face. Obviously, he was seriously injured. However, he was still so stubborn that the Yin Yang Emperor of the Netherworld lost his temper. He knew that Su Yi's real purpose was to subdue the Spirit-devouring Emperor. He would not kill him directly. At this time, the Yin Yang Emperor of the Netherworld and the Green Emperor felt that the Spirit-devouring Emperor was a little silly. If they told him that following Su Yi would bring him great benefits, what would he think? Let's go back to the cave first. Since the spirit-devouring emperor had been suppressed, Su Yi immediately waved his hand and led the others to the cave. The spirit-devouring emperor was held in the hands of the Enyang emperor of the Netherworld. It looked like he was dying. This guy has a bad temper. We need to train him well, Su Xiaoshui said as they moved forward. Soon after, they arrived at the cave. Su Yi opened the mysterious space and asked the Green Emperor and the Enyang Emperor of the Netherworld to protect him. He and Su Xiaoshui took the spirit-devouring emperor into the space. What is this place? When the rich spiritual qi surged in, the spirit-devouring emperor felt much better. He could not help but open his tired eyes in surprise. This unique space puzzled him. He did not know where he was. A space bag. Su Yi ignored him and found a space bag on the spirit-devouring emperor. After opening it with his special means and seeing the items inside, Su Yi was surprised. No wonder he is an expert in the demon royal realm. He is really rich. There were a large number of spiritual herbs and primal stones in the emperor-devouring spirit's interspatial bag. Su Yi didn't stand on ceremony. He took out some of the spiritual herbs that were still alive and planted them in the medicinal field. Golden scale, blazing heaven bough. Before long, Su Yi found the golden scorching heavens bough and kept it in his interspatial bag. He had completely recognized the golden scale blazing sky bough as its master, so he could exert its greatest power. For Su Yi, this was a very powerful long-range attack, so naturally, he would not give it up easily. After finding the golden scorching heavens bough, Su Yi did not continue to check the spirit-devouring emperor's interspatial bag. He just threw it aside and walked up to the spirit-devouring emperor. Human, I've already fallen into your hands. If you want to kill me, then kill me. If I even frown, then I'm a coward. The devouring spirit emperor looked at Su Yi and said weakly. However, there was still an indelible pride in his words. This gave Su Yi a headache. It seemed that it would not be easy to subdue the devouring spirit emperor. I've already found the golden-scaled, blazing heavens bow myself. Devouring spirit sovereign, let's settle something else. Su Yi ignored the spirit-devouring emperor's tough attitude. He found a place to sit down and said, "At that time, I gave you the golden scale, blazing heavens bow and asked you to let me go. However, you went back on your word and still wanted to kill me. This is the first thing. The second thing is that you've been chasing us for almost 2 days. It's time to settle the score." Hearing Su Yi's words, the spirit-devouring emperor snorted and did not answer. "I'll give you a chance to submit to me," Su Yi said flatly and straightforwardly. His face became serious. He was not joking. Wishful thinking. I will never disgrace the demon clan and become a scum like the Enyang Hell Flood Dragon. The spirit-devouring emperor immediately refused. He would never submit to Su Yi. The Enyang Hell Flood Dragon and the Green Emperor were the disgrace of the demon clan in his eyes. Today, he did fail miserably and was captured by the 2 scums of the demon clan. Otherwise, he would not have been able to do anything to this human boy. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. Listen to me first before you make a decision. Su Yi waved his hand and said to the spirit-devouring emperor, "Submitting to me doesn't mean that you have to be my slave. Instead, you have to follow me and make a name for yourself in this world so that no one can bully us. And as a condition for your submission, I will give you a great opportunity that will absolutely surpass your current imagination. It will allow you to obtain endless benefits." He paused for a moment and then continued, "Don't look at me like that. You won't believe my empty words. But you and the Enyang Hell Emperor are old friends. You should know his original strength. He has only been with me for less than a month. He has reached the peak of the 5th level from the 3rd level of the Demon Royal Realm. You wouldn't believe it before. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been defeated so miserably by the Enyang Hell Emperor." After saying that, Su Yi stared at the spirit-devouring emperor for a moment. He knew that the spirit-devouring emperor was stubborn. Coercion or other tricks would not work. It was better to be straightforward and let the spirit-devouring emperor make his own choice. He did have a way to forcibly plant a demon soul contract in the spirit-devouring emperor's mind, but it would take a lot of effort and consume a lot of his strength. If he could achieve his goal in a few words, Su Yi would not ask for trouble. Like I said, you don't have to give me an answer in a hurry. I'll give you time to think about it. Su Yi stared at the spirit-devouring emperor for a while, and then added, "But I won't wait forever. It's up to you." After saying that, he left the mysterious space directly without giving the spirit-devouring emperor a chance to speak. After Su Yi's figure disappeared, the spirit-devouring emperor's eyes were filled with shock. It was not until now that he realized that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's strength had improved so quickly because of this young man. It was unimaginable. In less than a month, the spirit-devouring emperor had reached the peak of the 5th level from the 3rd level of the Demon Royal Realm and was about to break through to the 6th level. If it were not for a great opportunity, how could he have broken through so quickly? It's because of him. The spirit-devouring emperor did not doubt the truth of Su Yi's words, because he could not think of any other possibility. If it were not for such benefits, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor would not have been willing to submit to him. In fact, the spirit-devouring emperor had already seen that Su Yi was extraordinary. Based on his understanding of human beings, this young man was absolutely invincible among his peers. Chapter 994. At this moment, the spirit-devouring emperor's heart was in turmoil. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had joined forces to set up a restriction on him. He could not break through it all. However, the spiritual chi in this space was extremely rich. Even if he could not use it to restore his strength, he could still breathe it into his chest, which made him look much better. This is a very special space. The spirit-devouring emperor also discovered the uniqueness of this space. He felt that Su Yi was somewhat unfathomable. That boy brought people in again. It seems that you are going to get a great opportunity. But from the looks of it, you must have suffered a lot. Why bother? Just as the spirit-devouring emperor was thinking, an old voice sounded. Then he saw a ginseng jump out of the ground and speak. The blood jasper spirit ginseng of the monster void realm. The spirit-devouring emperor was very knowledgeable. He immediately recognized the blood jasper spirit ginseng, which made him turn pale with fright. The blood jasper spirit ginseng of the monster void realm was a rare spiritual medicine that was hard to find in the world. He did not expect that the human boy had one in his space. The spirit-devouring emperor felt that he could not see through the human boy anymore. The temptation that Su Yi brought to the spirit-devouring emperor was too great. After the blood jasper spirit ginseng came out for a stroll, it went back into the ground and ignored the spirit-devouring emperor. But what it did not know was that its stroll had pushed the spirit-devouring emperor's shock to the extreme. Su Yi led Su Xiaoshui, the Green Emperor, and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor out of the cave and into the forest. With the two demon emperors, he did not dare to say that he could do whatever he wanted here, but he could definitely protect himself. Fortunately, this place was not far from the Sword Star City. Su Yi was not in a hurry to go back. He wanted to inquire about the news. Ran Yin from the 7-Star Sword School, as well as the mounts of Protector Lu and Ran Jianxian, were all killed by him. The 7-Star Sword School would definitely have a big reaction. Su Yi wanted to see the situation. We won't enter the city. Let's just ask around outside. Su Yi led the few of them and walked back the way they came. They did not deliberately head in the direction of Sword Star City. There should be a lot of people in this forest, so they would definitely meet some people along the way, and it would be easier for them to get information. The spirit-devouring emperor had chased them all the way here. Whether it was Su Xiaoshui or the spirit-devouring emperor itself, the powerful auras they emitted made countless people and beasts not dare to get close. Thus, they had not encountered anyone along the way. This time, however, Su Yi and the others did not go far before encountering several loose cultivators who had gathered together. When they saw Su Yi, a young man in his 30s, was stunned. Then he saw handsome Su on his shoulder. The young man's face suddenly changed, as if his heart had skipped a beat. He was keenly aware of this change. The others were older, but their expressions were also different. Their gazes kept moving back and forth between Su, Yi, and handsome Su. Although they hid it well, they still could not hide it from Su, Yi, and the others. You know me? He raised his eyebrows and asked the few loose cultivators. These rogue cultivators were not very strong. The strongest among them was only at the 7th level of Yuanjun realm. When they saw Su Yi's face clearly, they started to tremble in fear, as if they had seen something terrifying. Originally, these people did not dare to say anything. However, the aura of the Yuan Void realm burst out from Su Yi's body and was revealed in front of them. Immediately, they panicked and told him everything that Su Yi wanted to know. Only then did Su Yi and the others know that not long after he left Sword Star City that day, Ran Jianxian received the news and quickly rushed back. His son was killed, a protector was killed, and his mount was killed. This made Ran Jianxian furious, and the entire Sword Star City was instantly under martial law. A large number of disciples of the 7-star sword school were sent out to search for the audacious killer. Many loose cultivators in the city panicked. They were afraid that Ran Jianxian would vent his anger on some innocent people in a rage. Later, Ran Jianxian found some witnesses and began to draw the murderer's portrait. In the end, he issued a bounty and wanted to find Su Yi and handsome Su in the city. 200,000 2-star origin stones. This Ran Jianxian is really generous. He smacked his lips and said while stroking his chin. As a third-rate force in the Chaos region, the 7-star sword school could not be considered a big business. Being able to take out 200,000 2-star origin stones at once was indeed generous. The two of us together are only worth 200,000 2-star origin stones. On the side, handsome Su curled his lips, a little dissatisfied with the price. He felt as if he had been insulted. The bounty for a dignified Phoenix bloodline was only 200,000 2-star origin stones. This made handsome Su very unhappy. It doesn't seem like it's enough. Suddenly, Su Yi chuckled and said. Handsome Su glanced at him and asked, Boss, what bad ideas are you thinking of now? He now had some understanding of Su Yi. He knew that his boss was not a good person. Once he laughed, there was definitely evil in his stomach. 200,000 2-star origin stones. That's 20 million 1-star origin stones. That's a huge sum. Su Yi exclaimed. Hearing this, handsome Su immediately understood. Even the Green Emperor and Yin Yang Underworld Emperor next to him looked at each other. They knew that their master wanted to get the 200,000 2-star origin stones. Boss, why don't you go to the 7-star sword school and let the Green Emperor and the others go and get the origin stones? I'll spend it for you. Handsome Su said. Impudent. Su Yi gave him a slap on the head and rolled his eyes at handsome Su. We don't seem to have enough manpower now. Let's postpone this plan for a while. After a while, Su Yi said. He really wanted to take the origin stones into his own hands and take it to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to repay the debt. The huge debt of 1 billion 2-star origin stones had always been a headache for Su Yi. Now, his biggest hope was the origin stone mine that Nangong Ningyue mentioned. But before that, he still had to live. However, there should be a few people in the 7-star sword school who were very strong. If he was not absolutely sure, it was better not to act rashly. If he accidentally threw his life away, it wouldn't be worth it. Let's go. When we subdue the devouring Spirit Emperor, it will be easy for us. Su Yi said. Then he left with handsome Su, Yin Yang Underworld Emperor, and Green Emperor. Before that, the several rogue cultivators were knocked out one by the Green Emperor and thrown into a hidden valley. About half a day later, they would wake up by themselves. Chapter 995. Su Yi had achieved his goal after finding out about the 7-star sword school. The 7-star sword school was only a third-rate sect, but it was very close to being a second-rate sect. Its strength was extraordinary. In other words, the seven-star sword school was definitely much stronger than the Bawang sect. However, Su Yi felt that the Bawang sect was not inferior to them in terms of Emperor's stage. Let's go back. Su Yi and the others walked together. They did not plan to stay in the forest any longer. The people of the seven-star sword school were looking for him all over the world. They might really run into each other at any time. In addition, the people of the Gimdeo sect and the Green Sanctuary sect who had grudges with him had also brought their juniors here to train. There were also the rogue cultivators who knew about the bounty. If they spread the news, they would definitely be surrounded and attacked. That would be disadvantageous to him. 200,000 two-star origin stones was not a small amount. It would definitely make many people jealous. It was also very likely that they would take the risk out of desperation. Su Yi and the others did not delay. They did not want to cause any trouble here. He held Su Xiaoshui in his arms and walked with the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor at full speed. They deliberately avoided places where there were people and did not want to cause any trouble. While they were on their way, in another part of the forest, several figures were gathered together, surrounding an old man in a yellow robe. Elder Huang, why did you run away when you saw me? If Su Yi was here, he would definitely recognize the people in the outer circle. They were none other than the Gimdeo sect master Yang Baikuan and the Origin Emperor expert named Wei Dao. Among the others, one was a second-level Origin Emperor. The rest were all in the Origin Void Realm. As for the yellow-robed old man in the middle, he was the Bawang sect's first guardian, Huang Jian. So it's you, sect master. Huang Jian did not see you clearly earlier. Huang Jian's expression was awkward as he replied symbolically. He began to feel nervous. 2 days ago, the sect master and Su Xiaoshui had lured the spirit-devouring emperor away. Huang Jian was a little worried, so he chased after them, wanting to find out the news as soon as possible. If anything were to happen, he would be able to lend a hand in time. However, he didn't think too much about it at that time. With the spirit-devouring emperor and handsome Su's speed, he couldn't catch up with them. In the beginning, he was still able to follow some traces and obtain the direction in which Su Yi and the other two had left. But in the end, the traces were cut off. As such, Huang Jian had no choice but to search everywhere to find the whereabouts of the sect leader. He knew that it was not a good time for him to show his face. Thus, when he walked in the forest, he restrained his aura and avoided people. He did not want the Gimdeo sect to find out. However, man proposes, God disposes. Today, Yang Baikuan, Wei Dao, and the others blocked his way. Huang Jian was extremely nervous. He had brought Yang Chuan out for training, but in the end, he died in the hands of the sect leader. Logically speaking, he couldn't explain it to Yang Baikuan. He couldn't say, "Your son was ignorant and sought his own death. He almost got me into trouble." Yang Baikuan wouldn't listen to him. Most importantly, Huang Jian didn't dare to go against the Gimdeo sect openly. He had just broken through to the first level of the Origin Emperor realm. He was no match for the Gimdeo sect. Yang Baikuan was at the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Wei Dao was at the 3rd level of the Origin Emperor realm. In addition, there were 2 other Origin Emperors around. Huang Jian knew that if he made a mistake today, he would have to die here. Elder Huang, I invite you to join the Gimdeo sect as an elder and let you protect my son, Yang Chuan. But why did he suffer such a tragic death? Yet you are still safe and sound. Elder Huang, you have to give me an explanation for this matter. Yang Baikuan looked at Huang Jian and said coldly. His eyes were like knives as he stared at Huang Jian's face. He looked at every expression on that old face, trying to figure out something from it. He didn't know the exact circumstances of Yang Chuan's death, but at that time, there were only the corpses of Yang Chuan and a group of Gimdeo sect disciples. Their elder, Huang Jian, was nowhere to be found. Yang Baikuan did not expect that they would meet Elder Huang again today. This made him feel that something was not right. Sect leader, please calm down. Huang Jian looked nervous, but he still cupped his hands and said, That day, I brought the young sect leader out for training. We were attacked by a 7th-level demon, Void, Stage, Barbaric Demon Beast. In order to prevent the young sect leader from getting hurt, I led it away by myself. When I went back to look for the young sect leader, I didn't see them anymore. Huang Jian was lying. Huang Jian could only curse in his heart. He knew that he would not be able to fool Yang Baikuan with such an excuse. He could only stall for time. If the sect leader could bring the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor here, Huang Jian would have enough confidence to face the people from the Gimdeo sect. Is that so? Yang Baikuan sneered when he heard Huang Jian's words. He said in a gloomy voice, "Elder Huang, how long are you going to lie to me? Initially, I was just a little suspicious of you, but I never really suspected you. However, it seems like my son, Yang Chuan's son, has something to do with you." Yang Baikuan said through gritted teeth as he spoke. He looked like he was filled with hatred. He could not help but be suspicious. Huang Jian's behavior was enough to explain some things. Finally, Yang Baikuan held a big saber in his hand. There was a dazzling golden light flowing on it. One could vaguely hear the sound of wind and thunder coming from a saber. At the same time, one could vaguely hear the fierce roar of a beast. It was enough to make one's heart tremble. Looking at the saber in Yang Baikuan's hand, Huang Jian could not help but swallow his saliva. He knew how powerful the saber was. It was extremely terrifying and domineering. "Elder Huang, why aren't you saying anything?" Yang Baikuan stepped forward, closing in on Huang Jian step by step. The origin chi in his body was circulating crazily. His cultivation of the 5th level Origin Emperor realm erupted, causing the entire space to be confined. Huang Jian stood on the spot and felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. It was hard for him to break free. Huang Jian knew that Yang Baikuan would not believe what he had said. He was definitely going to take action. It seemed like today's matter could not be settled peacefully. Thinking of this, Huang Jian steeled his heart and decided not to be afraid of anything. Although I, Huang Jian, am not strong enough, I have a clear conscience. Since I have promised to be the elder of the Gimdeo sect and protect Yang Chuan, I will do my best to fulfill my responsibilities. However, your son, Yang Chuan, acted recklessly and did not listen to my advice. He was arrogant and wanted to provoke someone he should not provoke. The sins of heaven can be defied, but the sins of one's own will not be spared. He deserved to die. Chapter 996. Huang Jian's words were sonorous and forceful as he stared coldly at Yang Baikuan. He was ready to throw caution to the wind. He felt that he was going to die today anyway, so he might as well speak his mind. Yang Chuan was arrogant and reckless. He ignored his advice and insisted on provoking Su Yi. That was why he was killed. It could be said that he asked for it and could not blame anyone. Huang Jian knew that if he was not useful to Su Yi, he would have been buried with Yang Chuan. Now that he had followed Su Yi and joined the Overlord's sect, even though it had only been a short time, Huang Jian had already regarded himself as the first guardian of the Overlord's sect. He had received too many benefits from Su Yi, which was something that Yang Baikuan's empty promises could never compare to. Huang Jian did not regret it. Even if he died at the hands of the Gimdeo sect today, he could only blame his bad luck. In the end, he was still cheated by Yang Chuan. He did not die at the hands of Su Yi, but he would eventually fall into the hands of Jin Zhizong. "Huang Jian, you're good." Yang Baikuan's words were deep. He stared at Huang Jian and said, "Tell me, who killed my son?" He clenched his teeth tightly. This was the truth that he wanted to know the most. However, Huang Jian ignored him. He only snorted and disdained to speak. "Very good." Huang Jian's silence made Yang Baikuan's expression even more ferocious. His facial features were almost squeezed together. His face was flushed and his blood was boiling. He knew that Huang Jian was telling the truth. Yang Chuan was indeed young and frivolous, even a little arrogant. But so what? Yang Chuan was Yang Baikuan's only son. Even if he had done wrong, he would not tolerate anyone criticizing him. Moreover, he had been killed. The pain of losing his son hit him again. Yang Baikuan let out a roar from his throat, and his entire being suddenly became like an angry lion. "Huang Jian, today I will tear you into pieces and bury you with my son." He He roared angrily and raised the long saber in his hand. A dazzling golden light burst out like a sun in the sky, illuminating the surroundings with a golden light. Along with that, a terrifying and boundless aura swept out. The chi of the Origin Emperor realm was boiling. A blade radiance condensed and formed, slashing toward Huang Jian, who was in the crowd. This saber light contained an incomparably sharp aura. It was as if it could sever mountains and rivers. Even a giant mountain could be easily destroyed. In the face of such a domineering attack, Huang Jian's expression became especially solemn. It was impossible for him to escape at this point. There were 3 Origin Realm cultivators standing guard in the area aside from Yang Baikuan. There was no way he could escape. The only thing he could do now was to defend with all his might. As his mind raced, Huang Jian had already come up with a countermeasure. The primordial qi in his body circulated crazily and quickly condensed into a bright ball of light in front of him. He pushed it toward Yang Baikuan's saber light with all his strength. In the blink of an eye, the two forces collided. Boom! A loud bang shook the heavens and earth. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. A terrifying force swept out like a hurricane, sweeping away all the surrounding trees, twisting them into pieces and sending them flying in the air. In the midst of the chaos, a yellow-robed figure was shot out and smashed heavily into a mountain behind him. A deep mark was left on the hard mountain rock, and it caved in. This yellow-robed figure was Huang Jian. He had just broken through to the first level of the Origin Emperor realm. In front of Yang Baikuan, who was a 5th-level Origin Emperor, he was unable to withstand a single blow. He was sent flying in a single move and was severely injured in an instant. Puffed, Huang Jian spat out a mouthful of blood. There were wounds on his arms and chest, and his flesh was badly mangled. His body slowly slid down from the mountain rock. His eyes were dim and lifeless, filled with the aura of death. "Give me your life." Yang Baikuan roared again and raised his saber to attack. Huang Jian was severely injured and had no strength to resist. Yang Baikuan knew that he could easily kill him with another strike. "Come on then," Huang Jian murmured as he looked up weakly. At this point, he was no longer afraid. He could only blame himself for trusting the wrong person. He believed Yang Baikuan and joined the Gimdeo sect. In the end, he was misled by Yang Chuan. He didn't die in the hands of Su Yi, but he was still killed by Yang Baikuan. However, Huang Jian felt that it was worth it. At least after joining the Bawang sect, he had successfully broken through the shackles of many years and stepped into the Origin Emperor realm. I, Huang Jian, don't regret my death. I only regret not being able to repay the kindness of the sect leader. Huang Jian murmured again. The sect leader he was talking about was naturally Su Yi. He had received many benefits from the Bawang sect, but he wasn't able to contribute much to the Bawang sect. This was Huang Jian's biggest regret before he died. "Die!" Yang Baikuan roared and slashed with the saber in his hand. His eyes were cold. It was as if he could already see Huang Jian being split in half, his blood splattering everywhere, and his head being separated from his body. Suddenly, a light flashed in front of Yang Baikuan. A figure in green suddenly appeared and stood in front of Huang Jian. The figure was like a mountain standing in the abyss. Facing Yang Baikuan's fierce saber light, he remained unmoved. Green light burst out from his hands as he punched out. Bang! A huge explosion resounded. Yang Baikuan's saber light was shattered with one hit. A vast force attacked him and forced him to retreat dozens of steps before he could stop himself. On the opposite side, the figure in green only swayed a little before he regained his balance. "Who are you? Why are you stopping me?" Looking at the person, Yang Baikuan was shocked, but he still shouted angrily. "Sect leader, I'm afraid this person is not simple." Wei Dao and the other members of the Gimdeo sect instantly surrounded the person and said solemnly, they were not fools. To be able to force Yang Baikuan back with one hit and remain unscathed, this person's cultivation was absolutely terrifying. "I'm from the Bawang sect. Your Gimdeo sect can't touch me." Before the man in green could answer, a young voice came from the other side. Soon after, a young man and a middle-aged man flew over and landed beside Huang Jian and the green-clothed man. A small bird stood on the young man's shoulder. The young man's face was full of anger. He looked deeply at young Baikuan and the others. Obviously, he was the one who had just spoken. Sect leader. Behind the young man in green, Huang Jian, who had closed his eyes and waited for death, suddenly opened his eyes. He was so excited that his whole body trembled. The young man's voice was like the sound of nature to him. The appearance of these people was like a savior to him. Huang Jian knew that he would not die today. "It's you, young man." Yang Baikuan and Wei Yidao were stunned. They felt that this young man was somewhat familiar. Chapter 997. The boy wanted by the 7-star sword school seems to be the one in front of us. Wei Yidao said to Yang Baikuan from his side. Ran Jinchuan's son, mount, and protector of the 7-star sword school had been killed. Everyone knew about it, and Ran Jinxian had even offered a reward for the capture of the murderer. Naturally, the Gimdeo sect had also received the news. Therefore, Wei Yidao recognized the young man and the bird at a glance. That's right. The people who had suddenly appeared were Su Yi, the Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead, and Handsome Su. They were hurrying along the way back when they suddenly sensed the aura of the Origin Emperor realm from Yang Baikuan and the others. When they were not far away, they detected Huang Jian's presence and found that he was surrounded. Su Yi immediately asked the Green Emperor to attack. That was why he was able to block Yang Baikuan's fatal attack and save Huang Jian in time. People from the Bawang sect and the 7-star sword school has offered a reward for their capture. Yang Baikuan recalled the youth's words and couldn't help but stare at Su Yi. He had never heard of the Overlord sect before. This sect either didn't exist or it wasn't famous at all. Strangely, the cultivation of the person who had just attacked was so powerful that Yang Baikuan had to calm down and become cautious. More importantly, Huang Jian had joined the Bawang sect. The Gimdeo sect, huh? How dare you provoke me? Pay the price. Before Yang Baikuan could think further, Su Yi said coldly in a deep voice, "Don't let any of them go today. Kill." The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead, who was beside Su Yi, immediately rushed out and charged toward the people of the Gimdeo sect with a fierce aura. At the same time, the Green Emperor also made his move. He waved his palm again, and immediately strong winds rose from all directions, attacking the heavens and the earth. Amidst the explosion of light, a terrifying attack was launched, enveloping everyone from the Gimdeo sect. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead had joined forces to wipe out the entire Gimdeo sect. Demonic aura. They are demons at the peak of the 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Sensing the auras of the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor, Yang Baikuan's expression changed drastically as if he had been struck by lightning. The two Beast Emperors were both in the LV 5 Demon Royal Realm. Their strength was so terrifying that it was enough to crush everyone present. We can't fight them head-on. Run. As expected, Yang Baikuan immediately shouted and retreated with the members of the Gimdeo sect. He didn't dare to confront the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead head-on. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. The Bawang sect actually had 2 powerful Beast Emperors. It was so terrifying. How dare you attack the members of the Bawang sect? You'll all die here. The Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor bellowed and swept out with unparalleled power. He and the Green Emperor launched terrifying attacks at the same time, as if weaving an inescapable net, which tightly enveloped the surrounding space, making it impossible for the members of the Gimdeo sect to escape. "Break it!" Wei Yidao shouted and slashed out with his long saber. However, he was complaining incessantly in his heart. The 2 powerful savage, demonic beasts at the peak of the 5th level of the Demon Royal Realm could easily crush them. If they had retreated earlier, they might have had a chance. However, it was too late now. As long as there were no accidents, the members of the Gimdeo sect would all die today. Sure enough, in a short while, the the members of the Gimdeo sect began to be injured. Under the suppression of the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead, some of them spat out blood. Yang Baikuan's cultivation was the strongest, so he could barely resist. However, his face was pale, and it was only a matter of time before he was suppressed. Humph! The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead snorted coldly. Under the suppression of absolute strength, it would not be long before they could kill all the members of the Gimdeo sect. Don't even think about killing us. You're not strong enough. At this moment, Yang Baikuan, who was under great pressure, shouted angrily. Then, in a hurry, he took out a palm-sized object from his space bag. He held it in his hand, infused it with his vital qi, and threw it directly in the direction of the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead. Oh no, it's the soul-controlling talisman. Seeing the object thrown by Yang Baikuan, Su Yi, who was watching the battle from behind, suddenly felt that something was wrong. He immediately picked up the injured Huang Jian and quickly ran away from this area. He had seen this kind of object before. He had seen it at the auction of the Lingbao Pavilion. Later, Chu Zhonghuan, the disciple of the Holy Mountain, had also used one on him. At that time, if it had not been for the soul control rune shield given by the Lingbao Pavilion, Su Yi would have been dead. Therefore, he knew the power of this object. He did not know what level the soul control rune thrown by Yang Baikuan was at, but it was better to be careful in case he was at a disadvantage. Buzz! In just a moment, the soul control rune emitted a domineering aura, which instantly enveloped the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead. The aura was so strong that even with their cultivation, they could smell a trace of danger. Retreat! The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead retreated instantly without hesitation. At the same time, they quickly formed a strong defense. They were confident that they could take the soul control rune head-on, but they would definitely have to pay a price. It was not worth it. Rumble. The next moment, the soul control rune exploded. A loud noise shook the heavens and the earth, as if the end of the world had come. In the forest, the heavens and the earth were shaking, the earth was turning upside down, and the earth was trembling. Billowing smoke and dust rose into the sky. The fierce aura spread in all directions and smashed all the trees within a radius of several miles into a pile of powder. The surrounding area was flat, and there was a huge pit that was several feet deep in the center. They have used the soul control rune. What a Gimdeo sect! Chase them! When the smoke and dust in the sky dispersed, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead appeared with a gloomy face. He stood side by side with the Green Emperor. They glanced at the direction in which the people of the Gimdeo sect had fled and immediately prepared to chase after them. No need to chase them. Su Yi's voice rang out, and the two of them stopped what they were doing. He walked out with Huang Jian and Su Xiaoshui, and the Green Emperor of the Dead and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead immediately went to his side. The soul control rune is at least at the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm. The Gimdeo sect actually has such a thing. Su Yi said softly. Then, he changed the topic and said, "The commotion here will definitely attract the attention of experts. Let's leave as soon as possible. We will settle the score with the Gimdeo sect later." "Yes, Master." The Green Emperor of the Dead and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead nodded and quickly left. Chapter 998. A 6th-level Origin Emperor realm soul manipulation killing talisman was already considered an extremely powerful item. If it was auctioned, it would be able to fetch quite a lot of Origin stones. Su Yi didn't know if the Golden Saber sect had any other soul manipulation killing talismans. Let's go. After that, Su Yi, Su Shui, the Green Emperor, and the others did not waste any time. They quickly left the area. They knew that someone would come to check on the situation. If their whereabouts were exposed, the 7-Star Sword School would be alerted. After all, this place was not far from Sword Star City. Moreover, if the people of the Gimdeo sect had successfully escaped, they might spread the news about him. It was very likely that some desperados would take the risk and attack him. In the Chaos region, there were many powerful rogue cultivators. Su Yi did not want to take the risk. After leaving, Su, Yi, and the rest did not go back the way they came. Instead, they found a secluded place. After arranging for the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead to stand guard outside, Su Yi brought Huang Jian into the mysterious space. Huang Jian's injuries were serious. After being hit by Yang Baikuan, his qi was in a mess, and his meridians were severely damaged. Thank you, sect leader, for saving my life. After entering the mysterious space, Huang Jian was about to bow down to Su Yi. However, Su Yi stopped him. Guardian Huang, you don't have to be so courteous. We're on the same side now. It is natural for me to save you. You don't have to treat me like an outsider in the future. Su Yi looked at him and said seriously, Okay. Huang Jian smiled weakly and nodded. Cultivate in seclusion here. We will talk about other things after you have recovered. Su Yi took out a bottle of spiritual liquid and handed it to Huang Jian to heal his injuries. There was not much spiritual liquid left. Su Yi had kept all the spiritual liquid that was produced earlier. Now, there was not much left. Sect leader, I will take my time to recover. I don't need this. Huang Jian was stunned as he looked at Su Yi. He knew the preciousness of this spiritual liquid. Previously, it was because of this item that he obtained great benefits and broke through to the Origin Emperor realm. Now that Su Yi had taken out a bottle of spirit liquid to heal him, Huang Jian was not willing to accept it. He didn't want to be polite to Su Yi, but he felt that using such a precious treasure to heal his injuries made his heart ache. Just take it. I have more here. We still have other things to do, Su Yi said. Of course, Huang Jian could recover by regulating his breathing, but it would waste a lot of time. With the help of the spirit liquid, it would be countless times faster. Thank you, sect leader. With the help of this item, it won't take long for me to recover to my peak state. Huang Jian took a deep look at Su Yi. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he thanked him once again. At this moment, he felt that Su Yi had given him enough dignity and not treated him like a servant. Huang Jian felt extremely lucky to be able to serve such a sect leader. Then, Huang Jian stopped talking nonsense. After taking one last look at a small figure not far away, he sat cross-legged on the ground, poured the spirit liquid into his mouth, and began to regulate his breathing. Waves of qi appeared on his body, looking like a mist lingering around him. Spirit-devouring Emperor, have you thought about it? Ignoring Huang Jian, Su Yi stepped forward and asked Spirit-devouring Emperor on the other side. However, Spirit-devouring Emperor just looked at him meaningfully and didn't say anything. Think about it again. I will ask you again later. Su Yi wasn't annoyed at all. He turned around and left the mysterious space. Spirit-devouring Emperor couldn't help but look in the direction of the young man's departure for a long time. Then he cast his eyes on the yellow-robed elder sitting on the ground and fell into deep thought. Let's wait here. After Guardian Huang recovers, we'll go and do something together. After walking out of the mysterious space, Su Yi said to the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Emperor of Hell in the cave, However, we'd better subdue Spirit-devouring Emperor before that. Speaking of this, Su Yi felt a headache coming on. Spirit-devouring Emperor's temper was really different from that of ordinary people. If he tortured him, it would definitely backfire. However, Su Yi certainly wouldn't wait forever. If that guy was too stubborn, he would have to use violent means to suppress him, although it might be a little troublesome. Let's go and cultivate. Su Yi, Su Xiaoshui, the Green Emperor, and the Yin-Yang Emperor of Hell sat cross-legged in the cave and began to cultivate with their eyes closed. At this moment, the surrounding forest was in a mess. Countless people, including those from the Green Sanctuary sect, headed toward the direction of the previous battle to inquire about the situation. Guardian Wang, I'm sorry for your loss. We will definitely find the murderer of your son and let him die without a burial place. An old man, who was in his 50s, said to a middle-aged man beside him in a comforting tone. The middle-aged man was Guardian Wang. At this moment, his face was filled with grief and endless anger. Don't let me know the identity of that bastard who killed my son. Wang mo otherwise, I will cut him into pieces and make him beg for death." Guardian Wang roared with grief and indignation. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He was about to go crazy. Seeing his expression, the rest of the people from the Green Sanctuary sect sighed with emotion. A few days ago, they were talking about Wang Mo's talent. He was extraordinary among the younger generation and was not too far away from their young master. If he was compared with Yang Chuan, the son of Yang Baikuan of the Gimdeo sect, Wang Mo was definitely much better than Yang Chuan. Because of this, Guardian Wang had been proud to have such a son for many years. In front of others, this was what Guardian Wang was most proud of. It was also his greatest wish in life. He was waiting for the day when his son would surpass him. The alliance meeting was about to begin. Protector Wang was hoping that Wang Mo would be able to shine there and display his abilities. He hoped that Wang Mo would be noticed by one of the powerhouses of the alliance and be taken in as a disciple. What's more, Wang Mo would be given a complete mid-level magical item. However, on that day, Enforcer Wang's dream was shattered. His son became a cold corpse that was beyond recognition. When he was found by the disciples of the Green Sanctuary sect, he was being torn apart by the barbaric beasts. Guardian Wang could not accept such an outcome no matter what. All of his hopes had turned into bubbles and shadows. All that was left was endless grief in his heart. The sect leader has already sent more disciples. We will definitely find the murderer. At the side, an old woman looked at Protector Wang and comforted him. Although she said that, the old woman knew very well that the murderer did not leave behind any useful clues after killing Wang Mo. Chapter 999. The people from the Green Sanctuary sect didn't say anything else and didn't try to persuade Protector Wang. In fact, some of them were gloating over Wang Mo's death, who asked Protector Wang to brag about Wang Mo's talent all year round. Indeed, when compared to Wang Mo, all of their descendants were much inferior. But now, Protector Wang no longer had the right to brag, which made some people secretly happy. It had to be said that sometimes human nature was like this. Even though they were from the same sect, sometimes they didn't get along well with each other. When you had an advantage over them, they would envy you and flatter you. But once you lost that, they would gloat over your misfortune. They were already being polite by not adding insult to injury. Protector Wang was well aware of this point. Because of this, he wanted to find Wang Mo's murderer even more and make him beg for death. Only then could he eliminate the hatred in his heart. Half a day later, the people from the Green Sanctuary sect arrived at a flat area. All the trees that originally existed here had been destroyed. It was obvious that a great battle had occurred here. Not only the Green Sanctuary sect, but many other forces also arrived here. But no one found any valuable clues. After that, the various forces dispersed, and no one dared to stay any longer. I just received news that the person who the 7-star sword school placed a bounty on has appeared. He met with a group of rogue cultivators, but we don't know where he went. The next day, this news was like a gust of wind that blew through the nearby area. Many people received the news. The rogue cultivators that Su Yi had knocked out still managed to spread the news of him. However, because they didn't provide accurate information, those rogue cultivators didn't receive the 7-star sword school's bounty. Instead, they were beaten up and kicked out of Sword Star City. Not only that, the huge commotion in the forest was caused by the Gimdeo sect leader and a few other people. It's said that there was a young man and a small bird among them. They're the ones wanted by the 7-star sword school. Not long after the first piece of news spread, another piece of news spread, and many experts learned about it. They discovered that the conflict between the Gimdeo sect members and the young man was due to a man named Huang Jian, who was originally an elder of the Gimdeo sect. He had brought Yang Chuan out to train. But later, Yang Chuan died and Huang Jian went missing. Now, things are almost clear. That Yang Chuan should have been killed by that young man and that little bird. Otherwise, how could he have just subdued Huang Jian? That's right, that should be the truth. Yang Baikuan, the sect master of the Gimdeo sect, has been searching for his son's murderer for a long time. He even fought with this spirit-devouring emperor. I didn't expect it to be a young man. Don't underestimate that young man. That day in Sword Star City, the young sect master of the Seven-Star Sword School, Ran Jinxian, was unable to even take a single blow from him. That demon illusionary stage, heaven-splitting tiger, was also beheaded by him. That's right. That young man is too powerful, extremely abnormal. Even if he was placed in a first-rate power, he would probably be able to easily sweep through everyone of the same generation. It isn't just that young man, there's also that little bird. It looks ordinary, but a single flap of its wings killed the vice city governor of Sword Star City, the Seven-Star Sword School's guardian Lu. It's indeed abnormal enough. The vice city governor of Sword Star City is in existence at the 8th level of the Origin Void stage, yet he was actually unable to withstand a single slap. Only the heavens know exactly what level the strength of that young man and that little bird has attained. The surrounding area was extremely bustling, and it was filled with similar discussions everywhere. Many people were shocked by the news they'd just received, and they felt it was unbelievable. In the past few days, there was quite a bit of commotion in the mountain forest. First, the young disciples of the various powers were training here to prepare for the Alliance Conference. Then, a precious treasure was born, and it brought along an enormous fluctuation that pulled the atmosphere here to an extreme. But in the end, the commotion vanished, and it was unknown if anyone had obtained it. During this period of time, the son of the Gimdeo sect's leader, Yang Baikuan Yang Chuan, was killed. The son of the Green Sanctuary sect's guardian Wang Imo, died miserably in the forest. For guardians of the Gimdeo sect were killed, Sword Star City was in chaos. The son of the Seven-Star Sword School sect leader, Ran Yin, the sect leader's mount, the Sky Splitter Tiger, and the Sword Star City's vice city governor, Guardian Lu, were killed. These matters came one after another, and it caused an enormous disturbance. These third-rate powers had simply turned out in full force to search for the murderer. Now the truth has been revealed. Those guardians of the Gimdeo sect ought to have died at the hands of that young man as well. Now that I think about it, only the Green Sanctuary sect is still a headless case. Under the inferences of everyone, the matter approached the truth step by step. Everyone knew that all of this was caused by that young man alone, and such an outcome caused everyone to be indescribably shocked. Exactly where did such a young man come from? He's formidable to the point of causing one's hair to stand on end, and the little bird beside the young man was even more terrifying. From what I see, could the death of Wang Mo from the Green Sanctuary sect have something to do with this young man? Suddenly, someone made such a guess. It was as if he had seen through some sort of truth, and he spoke with excitement. Those who heard this were all slightly stunned, and then fell in a deep thought. Such a guess was not without reason. In the midst of the discussion, someone let out a chuckle and said to his companions, "We've offended so many third-rate powers all of a sudden. If I meet that young man and sell this information to the major sects, I'm afraid I'll receive a great reward." As he spoke, this person could not help but lick his lips with an incomparably fascinated expression. "I think you're tired of living." Beside him, someone's expression immediately turned serious, and then he spoke out, "To be able to offend so many sects at once, is he someone you can afford to offend? If you really meet him, I advise you to pray for your own good fortune and think about whether or not you can keep your life." These words caused the previously excited person to immediately wilt. Indeed, not many people can afford to offend that young man. So many things have happened in succession, especially the battle between the Gimdeo sect leader and the young man. Not only did the leader not gain any advantage, but there were also rumors that the Gimdeo sect had suffered some losses. Based on this, the young man and the people around him were extremely powerful. Because of this, everyone came to a consensus that they could not afford to offend this young man. If they meet him, it would be better to avoid him. But if they were greedy and tried to offend him, they would not even know how they died. Chapter 1000. As for the reward offered by the 7-star sword school, or the possible reward from the Gimdeo sect, it was better to forget about it. When he was not strong enough, such thoughts should not appear. Sword Star City. Lingbao Hall. In a quiet room, two figures were seated. One of them was an old man. The other was shopkeeper Xiaoho, whom Su Yi had dealt with before. Amazing. What a fierce young man. It's simply rare in this world. Compared to that legendary junior, I'm afraid he's not much inferior. Words of praise came out of shopkeeper Xiaoho's mouth, and they were filled with unconcealable shock. This young man is indeed amazing. He has only left the central province for such a short time, and he has already caused such a big disturbance in the Chaos region. It is simply unbelievable. The elder beside him also exclaimed in admiration, with a strange expression, as if he could not believe it. What was his cultivation level at the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly in the Central Province? It seems that he had just broken through the Yuanzhen realm. In such a short time, he has reached the Yuan Su realm. If such a strange thing were spread, I am afraid the world would be shocked. Shopkeeper Xiaoho's face was full of shock as he muttered to himself. The person they were exclaiming in admiration was naturally Su Yi. What happened in Sword Star City and the forest outside naturally reached their ears. What Su Yi had done was, of course, not enough to fool the people of the Lingbao Hall. Most importantly, in the current Chaos region, only shopkeeper Xia and a few other people knew about Su Yi's true origins. Therefore, they were the most shocked by Su Yi's appearance. There should be two emperor-level existences by his side. They seem to be beast emperors. The elder thought for a while and said so. The people of the Gimdeo sect and a few rogue cultivators had seen the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor. The news had spread everywhere. The 4 origin emperors of the Gimdeo sect were present at the same time, but in the end, they were defeated and left. They had used up a high-level, soul-controlling talisman. Obviously, Su Yi's side was more powerful. That's right. It's just that I don't know how that brat did it, to actually have 2 powerful beast emperors following him. Shopkeeper Xiaoho stood up and paced around the room. The shock in his heart did not dissipate for a long time. He muttered incessantly, "In time, this child will definitely soar to the sky. That person's eye for people is really sharp." Shopkeeper Xiaoho sighed with emotion. When that person first met Su Yi, what kind of cultivation level was that kid at? At that time, it was probably insignificant. Even so, that person still gave him a black card of the Lingbao Hall. It had to be said that how many people in the world could have such foresight? If this kid grows up smoothly, he'll definitely be terrifying. But I'm just worried that some people will definitely not watch him walk all the way to the peak smoothly. The old man was a little worried as he spoke. An expert naturally has to go through endless tempering in order to become one. How could there be such a thing as a flat plane in this world? Even if there is, this path will definitely not lead to the peak. Shopkeeper Xiaoho took over the conversation and said loudly, "I have high hopes for this kid. He will definitely overcome all difficulties and trample all the outstanding talents under his feet." The old man beside him heard this and nodded silently. "Next, I'm afraid some old guys will come out to deal with that kid, Su. If you can help, just a little bit." Shopkeeper Xiaoho suddenly changed the topic of discussion and said in such a manner. In a valley, the trees were green and the spiritual qi was denser than other places. At this time, many people had gathered here. If Su Yi were here, he would definitely recognize 2 of them. They were the faction leader of Xianjian's sect, Ji Tianfu, and Ji Hanhua, who had gone through thick and thin with him. This was the temporary encampment of Xianjian's sect. Su Yi, all of this is really his doing. Ji Tianfu and his daughter stood together and exclaimed in shock. Previously, when Su Yi killed the 4 guardians of the Gimdeo sect and was let go by Ji Hanhua, Ji Tianfu suspected that Su Yi was also the one who killed Yang Chuan. Now that the truth had come to light, Ji Tianfu could not help but be shocked. How long has it been? I didn't expect him to become so powerful. Ji Hanhua's beautiful eyes moved, but there was a bitter feeling in her heart. Vaguely, She felt that the distance between her and Su Yi was getting bigger and bigger, which made her unhappy. Not only is he getting stronger, but since when did he have a few martial emperors by his side? This was what shocked Ji Tianfu the most. To be able to defeat the Gimdeo sect, it was obvious that the martial emperors by Su Yi's side were not ordinary. Such a force might not be comparable to Xinjian's sect, but who knew if Su Yi had other martial emperors by his side? Ji Tianfu lamented. Initially, when Su Yi saved his daughter, Ji Tianfu did not take it to heart, even though he felt that the young man was not ordinary. He only thought that returning the favor was enough. Later on, when he found out about some of his daughter's thoughts, Ji Tianfu was not particularly happy. Now, however, he truly valued Su Yi. A young man like that was enough to make Ji Tianfu take him seriously. Father, now that those forces are looking for Su Yi, you have to help him. Ji Hannuo looked at her father with a pleading look. When she thought about how the Gimdeo sect and the Seven-Star Sword School were looking for trouble with Su Yi, Ji Hannuo could not help but worry. Even if Su Yi had martial emperors by his side, she could not be at ease. Hannuo, recently, you've been talking about Su Yi and Su Yi. You have to know that the young man provoked two third-rate forces. Neither of them is weaker than Xinjian's sect. There's even a possibility that Wang Mo from the Green Sanctuary sect was killed by him. We already need to be careful when the Green Sanctuary sect is plotting against us. If we were to become enemies with the Gimdeo sect and the Seven-Star Sword School at the same time, I'm afraid Xinjian's sect won't be that powerful. Ji Tianfu suddenly said to his daughter with a serious look on his face. Xinjian's sect and the Green Sanctuary sect already had a grudge against each other. Previously, the Green Sanctuary sect was the one who ordered the Sea Dragon Gang to kill Ji Hannuo. Although Xinjian's sect had mobilized their forces and destroyed the Sea Dragon Gang with lightning speed, the Green Sanctuary sect was still standing behind them and was still a huge threat to Xinjian's sect. Under such circumstances, if the Gimdeo sect and the Seven-Star Sword School joined forces to deal with them, Xinjian's sect would not be far from being destroyed. Father, I know. But, Ji Hannuo naturally understood this logic. However, she could not finish her sentence even after a long time. In the end, a hint of anxiousness began to brew on her delicate face. Sigh, a grown girl can't be kept at home. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.